Hello and welcome to LCK Challenger League here live at WGG Esports Studio for 2023 spring. It is myself, Valdez, with Wolf today, and you're here in the right place if you're looking to get sponged. Sponge is not playing today, but he probably got sponged yesterday, and he has brought his warmth to the Challengers broadcast. How are you doing today, Wolf?
I'm good. I know that Atlas and Chronicler had a very rough day yesterday in terms of the workload. It's when you have the Monday day, just so you guys know, we do all the LCK before this. So I know some of you guys probably just discovered this stream recently. You don't know that we cast this big league called the LCK. If I cover this here, this one, yeah, we cast that one. But this is the Challengers League, right? So I don't know. I'm just trying to interact with the screen a little bit more often. But yeah, so it was a rough day for them. So please send them your love and stuff on Twitter because they did do the full 9. Today we could have the full 6 based on the matchups we do have, but we'll see.
The full 6 is,
it's an easy one.
It's fine, especially with the games we do have today. It should be pretty fun. And also, you and I, we're keeping these duos together. So we're going to do Tuesday, and then we're going to do Wednesday through Sunday, normal LCK, and then you and I are back on Monday. So we keep the streak alive 7 days in a row, and you and I maybe get to finish it off with a 9-setter as well.
I hope so. It wouldn't be fair, would it?
I'm so jealous. I mean, they got the 9-gamer. I wanted to have the 9-gamer as well.
It was rough on everyone because it's a long day. And when I showed up to work today, and I went into the makeup room and talked to the Korean commentators, everyone kind of looked like, "Whew, that was a day." Everybody watched all the games, and it's a long time for everybody. So thank you guys for joining us again, because I know it was a long day for all of you who watched yesterday. You might be a little bit tired of watching Challengers, but I hope not, because you're here today, and we've got some good games.
The professional Challenger League watchers in the chat, no doubt, they are back. Of course, if this is your first time, where have you been? I'm not sure, but we do have the chat right here, so we can see what you're saying the entire time. And yes, it'll be a fun time as always. The Challenger League broadcast. We definitely take it a little bit more casually, I guess.
Yeah.
Still doing a good cast, still very important games for everybody involved, but we like to keep it a little bit lighthearted, keep the atmosphere of the Challenger broadcast the way it has been, as DK was able to win yesterday and take first spot.
Yeah, just like the LCK, we have D+, Kia, and T1 on top, but reverse to the LCK, D+ actually won that T1 matchup, so we'll actually be in this parallel universe of our Tier 2 league in number 1. And unfortunately, one of our teams playing today, Breon, has not won a single game here in the LCK Challengers. They are at -8, so looking to turn their luck around later on this evening when they do play that first matchup. Nongshim, sitting at middle of the pack, started off with a bang, looked pretty good. And Guangdong Freaks, I think, starting to find their footing here as well. Hanwha Esports and KT later on is kind of a battle for 3rd place, so that's going to be an interesting one. I think KT has quietly been a really strong team in Challengers so far. I'm looking forward to what they've got to show us tonight.
Yeah, it should be a couple of fun matches, I think. Both of them can be close. Just depends on how Bro is feeling, I think. Hanwha versus KT, they're right next to each other. Could be anybody's games, especially because this is Challengers and you never know. So it really just comes down to, as I always say, who's going to make the least amount of mistakes.
That's the way it is.
And maybe Bro can beat Nongshim. It's possible. Anything is possible in Challengers.
Yeah, so here are those matchups. Nongshim versus Breon being the first one, and then Hanwha Esports versus KT rolls for the second. I think the second matchup definitely going to be a lot more higher level, but it's really important for both of these teams in the first matchup. When we have this regular season where everyone plays against everyone's round-robin system, you don't want to continue a losing streak like what Breon has, because it starts to get into your head, starts to get into your mental. They haven't won a single game yet. Whereas on Nongshim's side, you want to win, you want to push yourself back towards the west side of the bracket, but you also don't want to be the first team to lose to Bro, right? So there's a lot of pressure on them as well.
True.
But they are definitely the favorites tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, could start this one off with a bang, Nongshim, as they did in Challengers, but then unfortunately, I believe they did take a couple of losses. So definitely looking to get back on the horse themselves. As I see you guys in chat. Someone asked, What's your favorite cheese? Wolf, do you?
Gonna have to be white cheddar for me, especially if it's sharp.
Sharp white cheddar.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my favorite. Although I have been getting into pepper jack a lot recently.
Yeah, pepper jack is really good. I'm a big fan of pepper jack. I don't really. I feel like it's mozzarella. It's like the most American things to say. It's like not a good cheese actually, but it's I don't know. It just feels like home. You know what I mean? Like the string cheese I used to eat when I was a kid. I guess I just don't eat enough like good cheese to really know what my favorite good cheese is. So I'm gonna have to go with mozzarella.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's a very versatile cheese. Like you can use it on pizza. You can use it in all sorts of stuff. Honestly, you could put it in egg if you want to do it that way. Like a lot of people like to use Mexican cheese for that when they're making sort of egg dishes. Cheddar also great there, but it is the great equalizer cheese. You can turn any meal that was a little bit more boring into more of a mozzarella dish. So we got some Nongshim fans here so far, and Lonely Bro fan.
They call them baby Nongshim, or it's pretty funny. I don't know. Like all the challenger teams are the baby teams, is what they say in Korea. It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
As a Raptor fan here.
Excited to cast Doive again myself tonight, and Frim. Frim had a really rough week last week, but hopefully can bounce back. Because it is an important day, as we mentioned, for Breon trying to get their first game win here in LCK Challengers.
Ready to watch my favorite team bro with my bro team.
in my bro shaker cup.
Wearing my bro merch after hitting the gym with the lil bro. Easy. If you are thinking about going to the gym and you don't really know what you're doing, it's better to go with someone else, regardless of if they're knowledgeable or not knowledgeable, because if you both don't know what's going on, then you can kind of have fun. You can kind of like help each other out by watching a YouTube video while the other guy's working out or stuff like that. If you go with someone knowledgeable, obviously, that's very helpful.
Yeah, you can also make sure if you could see someone doing something that's probably dangerous, and even if you're not knowledgeable, you can be like, don't do that. That seems like a bad idea. But that seems too heavy for you. That seems too light for you. And the case may be for all bros, of course.
Thank you, casters, for the 10-hour stream last night. It wasn't us, but thank you to Atlas and Chronicler, who did bring us through that marathon day.
Yeah, they might be in the chat, too. You never know. I think we got
My guess is no. Today, I think they need a rest from the League of Legends. They should probably not watch today. Chronicles probably got us on in the background. He's like, oh, no, I'm going to type something. No, don't. Just don't watch. Just take a rest.
I was just going to say on a completely unrelated note, completely unrelated.
Nice.
I think our hair looks pretty good today.
I
think we're kind of nailing it. We get the special.
Hair's looking good.
It's rough in some leagues where a lot of the time the Korean commentators use a hand mic. So in esports history for global casters, just to give you guys a little bit of a wolf story,
Perfect timing for it.
Sometimes the Korean commentators use hand mics like this, very free. Sometimes they're not attached, even they're wireless, whatever, but hand mics are very common in Korean broadcasts. So the hairstylists don't realize that the global casters usually wear a headset, right? So they will put our hair up or do something, really extravagant with it, and then I'm like, I'm putting a headset on that.
Yeah.
But now we can kind of do anything because we're not wearing headsets. Not that today's like especially bold, but I do feel like,
yeah, I'm
our
really
hair's going to stand out.
Yeah. We're really killing it with the crazy
it's just not
out
bold.
of. Yeah, no, yeah. It's just that both of our haircuts look extremely like straightforward and normal, so I was like,
especially mine because it's pushed straight forward,
Yeah. Just got like the tiny little part. Elbow's got to get tired though, right?
We have a armrest. Sorry to spoil what's under the table, but I'm not holding it. It's resting.
Chat went insane as the casters by the 10th hour yesterday. Maybe. Timmy, I saw that was your first chat. You're a little bit late to the Challenger broadcast.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's okay.
It's cool. Hey, it's never too late.
As long as you're here now.
A little bit late, but never too late.
When do casters switch to gray hair mode? How long do you think we're going to be doing this long enough to just be like on cast with gray hair? Like, obviously there are some already.
I mean,
what about us?
Like, you mean like, and my guys?
That's
luckily
a beard.
You can't see it too well, but
it's a little bit different.
Papa Smithy was joking about his gray hairs back in the day.
Tasteless. He's obviously got some gray hairs.
I feel like the older I get, the more I'm like, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to have to slow down on this. But every year I'm like, there's no way I could stop casting. And then I'm just like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be like full gray for sure. I'm going to be like DJ Wheat, you know, up here.
Whoa.
Maybe not like as crazy of hair as he had for a little bit there, but and he also wasn't casting when he did that. But shout out to DJ.
Still
Wheat.
counts. Bro, Giga Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gray Mohawk.
True.
Gray Mohawk. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like one gray hair there. That's like all I've got. Maybe like a couple. There's like probably some that are hiding, but yeah, that's about it.
Some lighter ones. I wouldn't say gray necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, like it's a scary experience as a man when you see your first gray hair and you're like, and then you realize that like it's not a big deal, and then slowly people start complimenting you on your gray hairs a little bit. Like that's at least what I've experienced with people around me who went gray. Like everyone's like, I'm worried I'm going gray, and everyone's like, I like your gray hair, and they're not lying either.
Yeah, it actually fits you, especially in the beard. You kind of have lighter hair, so you know it's not like super obvious or anything.
The longer I work in esports, like the more quickly it becomes gray.
If you cast enough Challenger days, you know, maybe by the end of this season we can get you to full gray mode. They were talking about Chronicler's gray hairs, so I mean, you're probably a couple steps ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't think I've really. I can't imagine Chronicler with gray hair. I feel like Chronicler will never.
I think
go
that's
gray.
impossible. Yeah,
He's
just gonna have like fantastic, amazing hair his entire life.
Yep,
it's just inevitable. Make sure you guys compliment him on his hair next time you see him. He loves that.
When Chronicler hangs out with us when we're all like 70, it's going to be like, everyone's going to be like, why you hang out with those old guys? He's going to be like, no, I'm 72. And everyone's going to be like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, they won't believe him. How about today's Pog hairstyle? You're going to continue with the...
I'll do a little bit of that, sure. If people were interested in it last time. Walking on Chronicler putting on a wig is pretty funny, though. It's like actually like Chronicler's been bald the whole time.
Yeah, he's just got this amazing hair. It's just a wig the entire time.
Well, based on some of Chronicler's reactions to the gameplay and him grabbing his head and stuff, like I think we know it's real.
Yeah, I think he's proven it. Yo, casters, this is from YouTube chat.
Yeah, a good question.
It's a good question. Very rare. Are there any rosters you feel could be put in the main league right now and do well? I think there's at least one.
I would say that D plus Kia is definitely like I think they could make playoffs. Like I'll go out and say like
wow.
I think there's a pretty good chance they could make playoffs. Just the coordination we're seeing from them is really good. It's not perfect by any means, but I think given some time to level up in a more difficult league, like they would grow a lot. They've already grown a lot since last season because last season they were doing very well. They didn't win the finals, but like they had a pretty dominant run. This time it's like a bop. It feels like every game.
Yeah.
T1 gave them a little bit of a challenge, but otherwise it's been very much kind of like a freebie.
Yeah, I think that this D plus is more dominant than the LCK D plus as well, which is part of the reason why they stand out even more. I feel like T1 could probably mess with some of the lower, like maybe like 8th, 9th, 10th, like that level. And then I think everybody else is kind of, they need some more time. Like maybe they would be 9th or 10th, but it is pretty difficult.
Seatbelts and helmets on. It's Breon time. That's right.
Interesting. I don't
Fasten.
But it's true because if you don't wear helmets or if you don't wear a seatbelt, you're not a Giga Chad. Actually, people think like you're cool. Like you're dangerous. No, actually, Giga Chads are very safe.
Giga Chads are safe.
Yeah.
Giga Chads also make sure the passenger with them is wearing their seatbelt.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to do that all the time.
Artosis? Yeah.
Yeah, I knew.
Artosis? Yes.
I was waiting for you
Artosis
to say it.
is just like, Artosis like checks the driver of the taxi to make sure he's got his seatbelt
sir, put your seatbelt on, please.
Artosis is very safe in all aspects.
He's a Giga Chad,
He is a Giga Chad.
In that aspect, at least,
I think he's a Giga Chad in all aspects, but even his StarCraft Brood War play, man, you watch his stream, very safe player. Lots of turrets,
I think
lots
only
of
Giga
turtling.
Chads play Terran, probably. In Brood War, based on the way that he puts it.
Well, yeah,
seems very difficult.
He thinks so, but I think Tasteless is also playing some Protoss over there. I think he's definitely a Giga Chad too, so.
And it looks like it's almost time for Nongshim Red Force versus the Giga Chads.
Yep. And You're so professional for letting people know about the reason why.
Yeah,
we
I
were
know.
delayed.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be unprofessional.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it was a good, a good call. So
Good old YouTube chat.
we're gonna take a look at these two teams very shortly. Now that they can communicate with their coaching staff, which is very important for our drafts. Here we are, Calyx coming in here with Sounda, so a bit of a change up in terms of the roster here, and I think this roster is better than it looks on the outset. I was pretty inspired by how Nongshim played their first series of the tournament, and they've overall, I think, been a team that has a good plan, and Nongshim's their academy and main LCK roster system, like all the way from academy to challengers to main roster, is pretty deep, and they've branched out into other esports. They have a Valorant squad now, and I think they finally really have a good system for promoting players. And give it some time, give it a few years. I think this org is going to be one of the greats in terms of scouting talent and picking them up. As Breon mentioned it earlier, it's a team that's really been struggling. Their stats aren't going to look great because it's been a team that hasn't won a single game yet. Frim, highest isolated deaths in the top lane, unfortunately, stuff like that. Raptor on this roster, bouncing between the LCK roster where he's a substitute for Umpty and playing down here. See if he can perform tonight, because this team really needs to shake it off. And luckily, it looks like based on what we're seeing here on camera, they're not too down about themselves going to a matchup like this, at least staying happy and positive. Oof.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the top lane. Mihail versus Frim. And Frim has been struggling a lot. He has been the victim of many a solo kill. In fact, he is #1 in that rank. But also Mihail getting solo killed quite a bunch, but also getting a bunch himself. So only playing 7 games of Cassante. Definitely a good choice.
Frim playing Cassante and Gnar only, so also playing only champions that are either that Cassante or a good champion into the Cassante matchup, but it hasn't worked out for him. You can see the KDA here much better for the side of Nongshim for Mihail. I always want to say his name the wrong way. It is pronounced Mihail, but it just isn't how you would pronounce this in like Hangler if it was written out, so like it throws me for a loop, but it's Mihail, so.
And I say it's only Cassante. I mean, it is very much majoritively Cassante. He has played 7 out of his 10 games, and he has played also Gragas, Jackson, Renekton 1 time each.
Okay, that makes sense, because I was looking at this and I was like, I think he's played more than 7 games.
Yeah. But
it's the point picks, Valdez.
The point picks. And yeah, I think Frim definitely going to have to step it up a little bit here. This can be a little bit of an issue for this match. But again, I mean, top lane, do you feel like it matters more in challengers? I don't know, because in my opinion, I have been very open with this. I feel like it doesn't matter much at all.
Champion pools?
No, just top lane in general.
Top lane in challengers. It hasn't mattered as much as the LCK, I think. Side laning has been a little bit weaker. But we've also then randomly seen like top players, not the lane, but the top player make some crazy heroic play like a 5-man Gnar or a big Yone ultimate. So the laning phase hasn't really impacted too much, but it can lead to an earlier Herald. But yeah, it interestingly, even though this is our key position for this matchup, probably is the least impactful right now. In terms of the laning phase and what it means, the prio you gain, mid lane is way more important for that. Bottom lane is the lane, and then jungle is tied to bottom and mid. And you very rarely see people playing around topside, unless it's one of those matchups like where you're playing a Camille versus an R and you're trying to play through topside in the draft.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely been a bit of a wild ride watching challengers and then going over to LCK. LCK definitely a little bit more stable. I think in challengers we might get some more mistakes, which might lead to solo kills and stuff like that. But the only thing that's disappointed me a little bit is that the meta from challengers is very similar to LCK. Like they're just like, okay, well, this is the meta here in Korea. We're going to play this champ because it is the meta champ. Speaking of Cassante is one thing, but also, in other lanes as well. We have been seeing a little bit of, Ashe in the support side, but that's more of a pretty standard thing. No No new crazy picks from what I can tell.
Yeah, we haven't really seen too much of the Caitlyn or Kalista support type double 80 lanes. Those kind of pushing kill lanes that we've seen picked up by DRX and, of course, popularized by Keria on T1. So I'm hoping to see more of that because I think this is very strong right now. And I spent a lot of time talking about this on the Monty Wolf show yesterday. I think this is it could be so strong that it becomes a problem if there isn't a great solution, because it looks like even in the hands of Beryl, who mechanically had a rough game there on that DRX match against Guangdong, the impact of the lane and the push power there and what Caitlyn can offer you even as a kind of utility AD carry later on in the game, clearing wards very easily with Umbral Glaive and setting up traps and stuff like that is very strong. Kalista, who can literally save the AD carry at any moment and make the AD carry a bomb, while also being able to use her Sentinel to like gain extra vision and stuff like that.
Sometimes
cool.
the AD carry is like slightly out of position, and then you can just either save him, or let's say he's like really behind a fight, and it's like a really critical moment. You can just like pull him in and put him right into the perfect position, or he can put himself in that position. So I think it's a pretty nice idea. It does struggle a little bit in terms of being low range if you're going to something like some of the other meta duos like a Heimerdinger, Varus or something. You can get bullied a little bit, but it has a lot of utility. I think it could see a future as well.
All right, it's about to be time to see what picks we're getting here in this first game, Valdez, because as you mentioned, the meta has been relatively mirrored to the LCK with some, weird nuances here or there. A little bit more Yone here in Challengers. The Ashe you talked about is going to be banned first off the bat.
No Ashe. I think that's a good start. She seems to be the most annoying pick for the bottom side, at least, is one way to put it.
Maokai very strong right now, too, in the Rise. We're just kind of going down the tier list here. The Lucian going to be one of the easy picks here with the Ashe and the Maokai picked up, like priority-wise, one of the strongest in this meta. Cassante banned away here very early on from Mihail, so...
Yes, Hard Zombie, we are not live. This is all recorded. In fact, I'm an AI. You might think I'm a caster, but actually it's not true. I'm just an AI, and this was all recorded weeks ago.
There's the Lucian ban.
Here we go, anyway, into this one. And yeah, a lot of the picks taken away. The Varus still poking out a little bit.
So it's either going to be, it seems like it's either going to be a Varus versus Karma type game or Heimerdinger game in that matchup, or we're shaking hands Zeri Sivir, right? And I think Dong should get to, with the first pick here, decide what it's gonna be. And it looks like it's gonna be the handshake, Valdez, with the first pick Yuumi.
Yeah, the handshake is, I think it's okay. Especially because in Challengers, some of the bottom lanes aren't as insanely dominant as in the LCK, where it's like, oh, you gave us Varus, and maybe they'll play like Kalista here or something. So we're gonna dominate you, and you don't get to play the game, right? I think that in Challengers you can get away with going for like Zeri lanes and kind of just getting by.
The punishment hasn't been as strong for sure, and they won't, as we were talking about, actually try to just say we're gonna play a scaling game. Gamin wants to actually play the Varus here. He's gonna have Palu on the Heimerdinger to push this one through. And my take on this, and I've actually talked with Atlas about this a lot, even though Zeri is more mobile and can offer a lot of big damage in team fights, I think what Sivir offers in wave clear and safety when she's farming mid, especially when you're doing laning into something like Varus where you might find yourself behind anyways and turretless early in the game, in situations like this where you're going to have a scaling advantage either way, I kind of actually like Jiu on the Sivir here, but they decide to go for the Zeri, the more standard pick here with the Yuumi. And I respect that choice, but I think they could have gone either way. They've made their lock-in now, and we'll find out what jungle Sound is going to play here.
Yeah, as I believe we're taking a look at Kalix, by the way, born 2007. He is a new guy coming up from Academy. Seems like he's going pretty strong over there, getting a little bit of hype from some of the fans. But we're not going to see his pick just yet, as the Wukong is decided on. And speaking of another handshake nowadays that we do see, Wolf, the Wukong versus Sejuani matchup.
Very common. Oh, however, what if? Raptor took basically Sounda offered his hand And then Raptor looked like he was gonna shake his hand. He did the thing where you put your hand out and you slap him. He slapped that hand and you put the Lee Sin onto the board. So this is going to be a lot more interesting now. A lot of dive potential with that Varus push bottom side. Sejuani can set up for some kills down there and can set up for those types of dives, but Lee Sin can do it very safely from range and does a lot of damage. And they can just, of course, dart away to a ward or to one of his teammates after going for that Sonic Wave. So safety here on the bottom side is going to be just not to be had. I guess I kind of put myself into a bad sentence there, but we do see the bans on the Aurelia, which is very popular right now, flex mid and top, and the Ahri ban. And we'll see on the other side here a Lee Sin ban, the Azir ban. Akali still up here, but definitely a little bit more niche in a draft like what Breon are looking for, especially now that the Azir is banned. Renekton seems like a pretty good call for either side to have banned away, but they're much more worried about the Aurelia. Kassadin taken, and we're seeing a bit of a return from Jace here in Challengers. Did see it yesterday, and it's making its way back in. A very vulnerable laner who gets a lot of prio early.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. I mean, you can flex it as well. You have the Heimerdinger in case you absolutely feel like you need to go down the full AD path. He can kind of shore up a little bit of that AP damage. As Sylas being looked at here might be the choice for Colix, and yep, there it is. It is locked in.
The Jace pick here could be flexed. And you could play Renekton. There's a lot of options. So they're gonna wait and see what this final pick is gonna be. And with the Aatrox coming through, I don't think you want to be tussling with that one a little bit too much with any sort of other flex mid pick. You could play the Aatrox here and try to play Jace into the Sylas, but it can be very difficult once Wukong hits level 6 to do a whole lot, and you're gonna be stuck in that lane for a while. Let's see if they want to go for it. Not a lot of magic damage in this comp outside of the Heimer, obviously, if they do go that way. I'd rather just see some sort of control mage here, just a safe pick that's going to shore up your damage later on. The Azir ban actually really hurting them because I think that's the most ideal pick for them here, especially with the Lee Sin synergy with that champ. And Syndra going to have some kill pressure here and a lot of power in the early parts of the lane. And Syndra just seems way more popular in challengers in general than in the LCK. We see a lot of LCK teams shying away from it, but Ivory going to be picking it up once again here.
Yeah, it's one of those picks that if you give her an inch, she can take a mile. And I think a lot of LCK teams, again, they just kind of understand where her power spikes are and they know how to punish it a little bit better. So in challengers, you're just like, well, I'm just going to do the boom boom damage. And there's, what are you going to do about it?
I mean, Syndra is a pick that you see on the Korean solo queue server, at least in my experience, very rarely, because everybody plays melee assassins in every game up until you get to like the highest level. And I got so carried this morning by a Syndra player who was god tier. He was hitting all the scatters, and I was like, man, this guy makes me inspired. Obviously there's pro players play Syndra and make it look like it's just point and click everything you do, but it's
pretty
not.
Much, yeah.
But it's rare to see that in solo queue. I was very impressed. So I'm happy to see some Syndra tonight. We'll see if it's going to be a Rod of Ages build, if he wants to go for more burst damage here. I think a lot of viable options here in terms of builds. A lot of power for the Jace in the early game, but it is an Aatrox who could self-sustain. Sounda going to have to juggle between that pressure of the Syndra mid and the Varus poke bottom. A lot of early winning lanes here for Bro. If they don't mess up their lead, this could be their best chance to win their first game of the season.
They've got an aggressive jungler in Raptor who comes down and maybe he's looking to carry the young boys up here in the Challenger League. Could be the play. And yeah, I think this might be their best chance. Lane dominance here in Challengers can bring you a long way. Pretty interesting, by the way, we totally ignored Karma in this draft.
Yeah.
But guys, we are jumping onto the Rift. Here we go for game 1. And here we are. I'm like, yeah, we should do an intro. Why not? Hype it up a little bit. But yeah, Karma, 88% pick ban presence, and she was just ignored this time.
Yeah, I mean, they could have gone for the Karma instead of the Heimerdinger here on the bottom side, but wanting to have a little bit more objective setup. And looking at how the draft actually came to pass, as we see triple Scorch here, gathering there for Frim on the Jace. Want to have that power later on. Not going to get much out of that pick into an Aatrox, but the Scorch, of course, they did not pick. And with the Heimerdinger turret setup of the composition that has no real front line, the Heimerdinger turrets become the front line. So at least there's that aspect of this, that Karma could have added some shielding and some extra movement and potentially some more snowballing in this draft. I personally like the Heimerdinger pick more, considering where we ended up. You know, like we could have seen a lot of different style of drafting here after the Heimer pick.
There was someone asking in chat who had a great name, by the way, Void Grandma.
Excellent.
You know, the Void is just another area. Of course, there should be grandmas in the Void. Why not? Makes sense. Just something I never thought about, but cool name. He asked earlier, he's like, can someone explain to me, I come from StarCraft 2, what is the Lucian Nami, Zeri Lulu, or Yumi mean? What is it like in StarCraft 2 terms? And
Swarm hosts. If anyone remembers the Heart of the Swarm host meta, where it was swarm hosts was the only viable thing that you could do as Zerg, and it was then mech became the only thing you could play, and it was Protoss Death Balls, and it was just swarm host every game.
Yeah.
And we were like, Heart of the Swarm hosts, huh? Any swarm host enjoyers?
Yeah, it's like if every tournament you've got Protoss versus Zerg, and the Zerg is going swarm host every single game, and the Protoss is going like quick 3-base, and you just get the same macro game every single time. It's like that, you know, except for the bottom lane in League of Legends.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's certain advantages and certain timings that both sides can take, and they're both relatively even. You know, there's pros and cons to both lanes, but...
Not another 4 years, Void Grandma says. Don't worry. Swarm hosts can't hurt you anymore. They're gone.
No.
They're gone now.
They still
from the
come
meta.
to me in my nightmares, Wolf. I
If
can't
you
get
don't-
away from them.
Yeah, if you don't think about Swarm host meta and Heart of the Swarm, it's not real. It never happened. As this is what you do with Syndra, by the way. Go for Airy, Scorch, put that pressure on the Sylas early. If you maintain consistent pressure and don't miss any Qs, the resources that Kalix is going to have here coming up to this roster here for Nongshim in his debut game is, you know, you just don't have that much power to like come in and look for a stun or look for an all-in, because Ivory can, if he reacts quickly enough, just scatter you away. And so the Sylas in the early game is just kind of muted here, needs his jungler's help if he's going to look for any sort of aggressive trading. Or otherwise, we'll just have to sit under here with dematerializers, first strike gold, pick up whatever he can with that, and then rush out that rod. Now here comes Sounda's first gank.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good opportunity here, actually, because they are so far up the lane, they do not have any vision here. Palu's in a lot of trouble. He does get exhausted, as a bit of damage does go out onto the Zeri. Palu did already flash, so it's a pretty easy pickup here for Sounda. This is looking like a potential double kill, but Gamin does have his flash, as the Q is going to come in from the Lee Sin. In goes Raptor looking to punish, and he will do just that. A nice counter gank comes out here from Raptor. And we even saw Ivory just, you know, show his face for a little bit late on that one, but Raptor able to shore up that one.
Yeah, Raptor just not realizing that Sounda was going to come down to that timing. There wasn't a lot of vision. Kalix going to try to grab a plate here, but looks like we'll be denied just barely from doing so. So no cross map here to be had. But yeah, the rotation from Raptor a little bit late. Ivory had a lot of prio, but was trying to push the envelope. Look at where both Raptor and Ivory are on the map right now. They're hovering mid. Looks like he's even trying to set up potentially for a level 6 timing to kill the Sylas. So he's completely gone when this happens. Reacts very quickly and comes down here with the Syndra, and is able to set up for this kill. This is just greed here and not communication between the bot duo and their jungler. And then this is really unfortunate for Ju. Does not flash the Q, flashes afterwards, so Raptor can just reactivate it and kill him.
Yep, that's really the big thing. You know, a little bit of a lack of vision on the bottom side of the map from both sides, and that kind of led to that one. You can see they were trying to push forward and get the flash out of Gamin, which they did, but that led to their eventual death on their AD carry. So 1 for 1.
Yeah, and Ivory not really even as close to 6 as I thought he was based on the fact that he hasn't hit it yet, so I'm not entirely sure what Raptor was hoping to accomplish there with Sylas under turret. Just a miscommunication, it looks like.
There's some discussion in the YouTube chat about like items and picks and stuff. Someone said you could just go for a different support and do damage and build Michael's blessing. Thank you, Michael, for the blessing.
I'm waiting for Ross's blessing, or Hobby Lobby's blessing. Only Americans will understand.
I want to call it Michael's blessing from now on, because I mean it is Mikhail's, which is, I mean, you would know a little bit better than me, but isn't Mikhail just like the European version of the? Well, is Michael like a English version of the name Mikhail?
I don't actually know, but I assume
vice versa.
I think Mikhail's is like a saint or something. Mikhail itself is a saint, but it might just be the same as Michael, just spelled European way. Not sure. Meanwhile, this ward can identify that the Drake is being taken, but there's nothing that Sounda can do about this. There's no way to get in here, so good ward, and it looks like the ward will actually be missed, so we'll potentially get some value later on. That's going to be first Drake going over to Bro, using their prio in mid and bottom super well. We talked about this in the draft. The early parts of the game here are just going to be so rough. Look at the top side as well. 3 winning lanes here for Bro in the early game, and unfortunately pre-6, Wukong doesn't have a lot of power to stop this, which is why I think they're pushing their advantages so hard. You can see Sounda here is about 3/4 of the way there on his XP bar.
Calix is up a level on Ivory, probably for just a moment. I think, you know, that small roam that we got down to the bottom side probably denied some minions from Ivory. It's probably a small thing, but definitely a Syndra you want to try to put on as much pressure as possible onto the melee lane that is Calix. He was doing a great job. He forced him back at like level 4. But that little walk away can have different measures in the future, as Calix will unfortunately be pushed away from the cannon.
Yeah, Calix pushed the turret right afterwards and shoved that wave in and denied him some extra experience and was unable to get a plate. He was very close to doing so, but see, he's picked up his Catalyst now. This is the first part of your Silas road to the Rod of Ages, road to Roa, so to speak, as Ivory's going to pick up a plate with his back timing, so he is really pushing the advantage. A little bit of a Yuumi taxi here for Calix, as he doesn't have teleport just yet. And it looks like as a result, with this Yuumi taxiing him over, he's going to catch this wave, and they're going to set up for a Herald fight without their Zeri. And this is actually a really cool macro play from Nongshim, because they can both threaten Plate's bottom side here and have a good level 6 fight here with this Wukong that has the Yuumi. So Brion going to have to make a tough choice here right now and use that prio.
Especially because Gamin at this point is much stronger with his Dirk. It's still very early, but the fact that he's just going to match the relatively weaker Zeri at this point in the game is a win for Nongshim if they are able to take this 4v4. It looks like it is panning out a little bit, as we do have Frim. He's going all the way around, trying not to get picked off, but I think he's going to be late for this one, as Raptor is looking for the steal. He goes in, he does get the steal, very nicely done. A massive scatter comes out as Ivory's like, yeah, this is my game to carry. And now Nongshim just kind of look a little bit lost, as now their Zeri is going to come up, but it's very, very late in this one. So 2 kills, Raptor gets the Herald, and Bro are off to a great start.
Yeah, this has been a great game for them, and drafting for Prio here in the lanes really working out for them. Late rotation up for Jiu also means free plate here for Gamin bottom side. Everything is going up Bro here, so that was a lot of damage from Ivory in that fight, unsurprisingly. And Frim shows up late, but he does his job. And when we see the steal of the kick here, it's a very interesting choice, the way that he pushes Raptor away from danger, then allows him to come back. He still hasn't used his, and he makes sure that Mihail is actually locked up here to chase him down. There were a lot of better ways to set up for this one, and yes, Frim did take the long way around and he was there late, but perhaps collapsing onto him or looking for an initial pick first could have been a better option here. You know you don't have your 80 carry for this fight, and in the long term against this Jace damage and a Syndra who has so much damage this early, you're going to have a hard time, and that they did.
Yeah, and it ended up being good for Frim, because all he had to do was hit 1 accelerated shock blast and essentially not get caught, and he did his job. So it was like, okay, I helped, and Ivory did a lot of the heavy lifting, and he will be rewarded with 2 kills, as now the Syndra will be very close to being online already in this game. Syndra very much a 1-item power spike kind of champion.
Yeah.
And, you know, she doesn't fall off for a while. I'd say maybe once the game gets to like 3-item / 4-item territory, some of the other carries could be more impactful than she will be. But definitely getting this early lead is going to be pretty huge for the Syndra.
Yeah, another thing we haven't talked about too much is with the Syndra rework. Like Syndra gets so much out of matchups like this, where she's constantly stacking her splinters with those combos, and even in team fights like that, where she's getting value out of those, she's getting more splinters. She's already at 54, so very accelerated in that regard to really getting all of her abilities leveled up. As you guys can see, every time we click on her, she's at 56 right now. And so Ivory is just pushing these edges, right? And he's sitting at a pretty nice lead here. Catalyst still the only item in pocket here for Calyx, just trying to stave off some pressure. You're trying to grab these minions. And he's probably looking at a pretty delayed rod here. We don't know what his current gold is, but probably going to be 13-ish minutes. So he didn't pick up really any gold, otherwise no assist to his name. So it's not impossible for Calyx to catch up in this game, because he will naturally be able to side lane and be a big threat, but need to avoid any more mishaps.
Yeah. Again, it's just going to be fun times for Bro. I think with all this priority now with their Fed Syndra and the natural priority of their bottom lane as... Yeah, Gamin, I mean, nice try. That's all I can say. Good try. But basically all the Drakes are theirs for free. So that's 2 Drakes already. They got that early one very early on. Nicely done by Raptor. And they're going to have 2 at before 12 minutes. It is a Ocean Soul. But I feel like that's not half bad, especially when you consider the heavy amount of poke that Bro have in their composition, just to allow them to keep that up. As Ivory a little bit far down the lane, but he's got Raptor here as they nearly burst down Calyx, and now Sound is like, well, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. As Raptor is there again, he's actually been a very nice influence on this early game for Bro.
You can really feel, I think, some of the umpty in him, so to speak. Like, he's aggressive early, he's following the lanes and making sure they can put pressure on. He's essentially being bodyguard for prio lanes, and it's really easy to do that obviously when you have prio in all 3 lanes, but the way he's utilizing it so far has been quite impressive. So we'll see this Herald drop down. They set up for this drop with that play just moments ago, and it was a scary moment because Sounda did have flash and ult available, so you're like, okay, this could be a disaster if we don't react quickly enough. But because Raptor's there and can kick him away, it's pretty easy to just set that one up. Sound doesn't even commit the ultimate, and they're just going to have to give plate gold over. Blasting Wand picked up here for Calyx. You could tell he's just a little bit far away from that really important Rod of Ages.
Is it still 750?
Like
once you have you have the components.
I have played so many Rod games, and I'm like thinking, I believe so.
I built so many rods like back in the day, and it was always 750. So in my mind, it's like still 750.
That or 800. Chat will have to tell us.
Chat's very smart. We're basically talking to Chat GPT.
Yeah,
they know everything.
It is 750. Yeah.
As the pet is going to show. As the bouncing bomb does come in, there are the chains of corruptions. A ton of damage comes in. Nice stolen kick, but it is not enough to get Calyx out. And the unfortunate times for our new Nongshim mid laner continue.
Ju gonna pick up split plate gold here with HH just for a moment here, and that's gonna be like some small good news, but right now Mihail also potentially under a lot of threat as the second Rift Herald is spawning here, so the group up is real. You know, you kill the Silas again, you've nearly gotten this turret down, so Gamin has so much power here in this early game. And I mean, this is just one of the risks of playing a having 3 prio lanes against you and allowing that in draft, and then not actually being able to successfully punish them. And I think the reason why Bro, or one of the reasons why Bro drafted like this, is because they saw the Wukong and they're like, Wukong can't do anything to us pre-6 probably. And if you get enough ahead, once he does have 6, he might not be able to do anything. He's going for something now.
Yeah, he's got something going on now as Palu is going to get caught. Him and Raptor were just kind of hanging out in the river. Thought they were safe, especially because, you know, the Wukong was pretty far away. They saw just the Aatrox, I believe, and they're like, oh, we should be fine. Nope, get flashed on, and they were not able to react quite fast enough. So the Rift Herald actually will go the way of Nongshim. I was going to say, like, if an LCK team has the lead that Bro has with all these winning lanes, probably going to be able to close it out. Like, I'd say probably 85–90% of the time. But this is Challengers.
Yeah.
So Bro, they've done a really nice job for themselves in the early game. can they bring it to a win? It's always the question. And that's why I want to go back to our game we were playing last week.
Yeah, I knew it was time.
Who is going to win this game?
I think right now, and I've been right every time, and I'm ready for the streak to be broken, but I think Breon are still going to win this game because the players are looking really confident. And yes, there's a lot of scaling aspects to this comp, but Rod is late. Zeri is a very nuanced champion that Gio is playing. Gio's got a lot of fans here in the arena as well today. We'll see how he performs on it because so far he's done fine, right? Obviously dying that one time, but the way this comp is played out for Breon is much easier, I'd say. They just kind of fire shock blast. They can set up scatters. They're shooting, you know, these Varus arrows, and it's easier to make a mistake as Nongshim, and from this far behind, it becomes very challenging to win those fights unless you have a carry type player. You know, like Pays would do this in the past when Gen.G is behind. It's like, okay, well, he could do it. He could pull it off. I'm not trying to slight Gio. I just think it's very complex the way they have to play this one out. And the one hard part of this draft, I think, is the Syndra. And to a lesser extent is the Lee Sin, but both of those players have been playing well so far, so I want to trust. So I'm saying bro.
Okay.
What about
Fair
you?
enough. In the LCK, I am a bro lever, but in this game in particular, I'm going to have to be a Nongshim bro lever. That doesn't make any sense. A Nongshim...
A noodle boy?
Yeah, a noodle boy. Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for, Wolf. I'm going to have to be a noodle boy in this one. I think that just overall, the better team in terms of what we've seen so far in Challengers. And I worry because Bros Comp, you know, they don't really have too much of a front line. It is a little bit difficult to play out. And I think here in Challengers, things always seem to go wrong.
They do.
I'm willing to be proven wrong, but, you know, that's why we play this game.
Yeah.
Because...
Speaking of things going wrong, this second Herald is going to crash in here. They do not have a wave, but they're trying to burst this turret. They already got top turret. Mihail completely uncontested top side.
That clone really ate it. And there is just so much as Raptor's looking for this one. The kick is actually pretty nice as Collix is going to get caught out, but so will Raptor as well. Goes straight into the Zeri, and Collix survives. And some of this tankiness on the side of Nongshim is really helping out when Bro are not getting clean engages. Yeah. That one was a bit forced.
It was really forced. I mean, it was a nice mechanical play from Raptor, but the follow-up is just so far away that Collix just barely survives there. And it has to break his stopwatch, so it is significant, but 2 turrets down here for Soul Point, and it is the Ocean Soul, or the Lake Drake, I believe as we call it here in Challengers. So it's not the most impactful, but this is just a jump toward here. Gets knocked up, so can't actually follow through, and goes downwards here instead of actually trying to kite back towards his team. So he ends up dying. Kylix lives. A little bit awkward, as you say, and it's a lot of money here for Nongshim they pick up. So bringing it back in terms of the gold lead, the deficit rather. Bit shaken. I mean, you talked about the tankiness. 2 plated steel caps on the top side of the map, going to make it a lot more difficult for Frim to find value. It's lethality Varus, same story there.
Does mean that Ivory and Palu will get longer value in this game, you know, which is quite nice. I mean, Ivory does have a decent amount of flat pen in his build. He will be going for the... as Wolf's just chuckling at the chat as I'm trying to talk.
Soul. Sorry, no, go on. I just figured out about the Broshan Soul.
Yeah, it is the Broshan Soul. Yeah, he's got a lot of flat pen, but as, you know, I mean, there's already a Hex Drinker completed for the Wukong. Like, they're gonna have to build a Void Staff eventually, and that's gonna be very difficult for Palu. And for Ivory, this is not really the first couple of items that you do build. And, you know, he's got a lot of flat pen. He has Ludens, he has the Sork Boots, but there is a chance for Nongshim to kind of just, you know, hunker down. And yeah. I think that that's part of the reason, you know, eventually the Sylas is going to become a huge threat, even though the laning phase was a little bit of a disaster for him. He is down more than 50 CS, and it hasn't been the greatest first look for Collix here in Challengers, but I'm curious to see if they can actually pull it through, because in the same way, this is Challengers, maybe Nongshim, they pull it back, but then they just throw it away, you know?
Uh-oh, speaking of throwing it away,
this is actually a pretty good look on the Frim, who is under turret, thought he was safe, but they didn't have any vision in the jungle, as Nongshim were doing a very good job of clearing that out. And
optimistic is what I would say that Chains of Corruption from Kami was. He almost put himself in danger there of getting blown up.
Nongshim are like down on gold, but Bro are just like, it's almost like after that last fight, they're like, okay, everything is yours.
Yeah, the macro has really fallen off a little bit, and they knew there was a pretty good chance for that to happen. You could tell based on the movement. Paulo and Gamin up there, top side, staying towards the top, and then Frim, of course, very far back and still stepped up and got caught, but just really putting a lot of pressure on the map. And obviously the top side is where they want the most control, as Baron has spawned here. And so we're getting to the point where Zeri's like, okay, I'm going to be on 2 items here pretty soon, and we can look to fight for Baron if Breon make a mistake or if we get some of those key ultimates. And there's just no tankiness, right? So if you turn as Nongshim and get into range, it becomes very easy to win those fights. Now they're going to dive Ivory. Oh, he doesn't know, I don't think.
And you could see like how little damage he's even doing to Calix now. Like already, there's only been a difference of like maybe 5 minutes, but like one decent combo from Ivory, and it's only getting like 10-15% of Calix's health away, which is a big issue, especially because he's only on Merc Treads in terms of magic resist. He does have the tanky stats from Rod, but that's just the Silas way of things.
Yeah. Just his base stats and his growths for his levels. Something we don't talk about a lot in League of Legends, but why some champions are tankier than others is not just because of their items, just because of their base stats. And the Silas is going to be able to eat a lot of damage there, and they almost committed the dive, but Ivory walks away with his life. And now that Soul is online here very early for Breon, as they have a 3 Drake lead, so we're talking about a 22.5-minute Soul fight here. And this is the moment where Nongshim have to fight if they care about the Soul. Still on 1 item for this Zeri. Rod not fully stacked for Silas.
He just loves stealing that kick, man.
Yeah, he wants
like
it.
The only thing he steals. He's got like Chains of Corruption on the other side. To be fair, there aren't a lot of fantastic ultimates outside of Chain and Kick, so it makes sense. Especially with Raptor always being kind of the easy ult to steal.
Yeah, in terms of range, he's always very available. To agree with you. And they've grouped up here faster, and Breon, I think, really quite timid right now. And you're going to have to start hitting those shock blasts, so this is going to be doomed.
Yeah, I was hoping with Raptor in the lineup, he would add a little bit of, you know, confidence, maybe aggression into this one, but that has not been what we have been seeing, Wolf, as they are seemingly just going to group up as 5. I mean, look at their lanes also, like the top lane is a total disaster right now.
Frim needs to be out there pushing this. If they're going to decide to not contest or blast any of these players with a shock blast repeatedly, okay, hold on, this could be a play. Hide on Bush.
Hide on Bush?
All on Bush?
Okay, they're going to use a lot into the Aatrox, and they do burst him down. 100-0, a big play from Bro. Can they get onto G was the question. That kick was massive from Calix. Oh, holy crap. That guy just kind of boomed Bro by himself. That was insane. I guess the hype about Calix was warranted, because that was really, really fantastic, as now, I guess they're just going to go for the Baron.
Yep, just going to take that one away, and this was really disjointed for Breon after the initial play onto the Aatrox. It looked like for a second they all wanted to tunnel onto HH and take him out, and then they're like, okay, well, we can't get him using Yumi, and then everything fell apart. Frim goes in and then has to flash out immediately, so very messy fight. They're going to look for the contest here now.
They're trying to get on top of Calix here because they try to push him, Raptor away, as now they're just going to go over the wall and try to fight them, as this is not really working. I hope you guys... Nope, they didn't keep the Baron leashed, so Bro with a very nice bait at the end of the day.
Yeah, Ivory does have teleport. It's actually just going to start walking over now, as the recovery time is needed here to take this Baron a second time. Wild game. Challengers. So this is Mihail getting caught by the scatter there on the edge. Yumi gets onto him instantly, but he's kicked by Raptor. And then notice how this fight turns here as Frim goes in. Yeah, the kick is sick, but Frim goes in, has to flash out. And Calix just says, okay, I've killed your Varus. Frim has to flash. He's doing no additional damage in this fight because of the Wukong ult. And we go again.
Yep, that's what you got to do. And this time we've got the Wukong in a great position. Double Cyclone. There is no escape for Raptor and Palu. I feel like I've seen that before, as that was a big turnaround. And now with the flank coming in from Calix, perfect teleport ward gets right in behind the Varus. And this poke comp from the side of Bro is not working. They just do not know how to set up fights. They do not know how to set up front lines and stuff.
Either,
and,
you know,
yeah.
this is just clearly a communication problem. Is you look at this fight beforehand, you see Frim is pushing top turret. He's left 2 players out to dry there. There's no tank, there's no peel, there's no real turn, so you can't just go, okay, I'm going to take this turret and then come back and assist you guys. It's not like he's playing Ornn, right? And at the same time, look at where Ivory is on the map. He's like killing Gromp right now. Where is the synergy here in this roster? Gamian is completely cut out here, no vision whatsoever. Kalix is on top of him instantly, just steals his chain and blows him up 1v1. I don't think it gets
in this as well.
Yeah, I don't think it gets less coordinated than this, unfortunately. And I think there's a big teaching moment here for the coaching staff of Breon to be like, all right, when you guys know Baron could be taken, you'd be talking about things ahead of time, like I'm going to push out these side lanes, then we're going to collapse. We're going to prep that, or we're going to try to slow this Baron down. Let's sit behind it, grab some vision, and then collapse from sides there with a control ward, because Ivory did have that TP, right? But instead, Ivory's like going to TP in after 2 people are dead and the fight is already over. Just got to work on that objective setup. Really big coaching opportunity here, I think, for the side of the Breon staff, because this game was theirs to lose, and ever since that mistake mid, the players have just kind of shut down comms. It feels like communication isn't there.
Yeah, I think especially when you're kind of out in no man's land with everybody just used their summoners in the last fight, right? Because it was a big fight. Like, everybody was flashing away from everything. There was huge flanks going on. Nongshim have just kind of found a way through all the chaos to get enough engages. And yeah, I think that Bro's positioning needs to be looked at in this one, as Nongshim now very much in control of this, with the Baron going to be looking to push some turrets. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of an issue now, because they can't really get on top of Ju here, who has a lot of sustain with the Yuumi as well, so the poke isn't really doing much to him.
Now that Sounda is missing on the map as well, like he backs away here, Frim has to immediately give away control of the side lane. He was trying to push it up, he was so far away with no vision. The second that Wukong is missing, he's like, I gotta back off, because I can't actually be up here anymore. I will just be 100-0'd so fast. And that's one of the weaknesses of Jace. If you fall behind in the game, is your side laning is possible from ahead, but from behind with no vision, no control, no peel, you're just going to die if anyone comes after you, whether it's a Wukong or not. So he can't put on that pressure anymore. As another Dragon Kick hijack. Level 16 for Kalix, by the way.
I mean, after what I saw, I'm like, yeah, don't even take the chains, bro. Just go ahead and look for some awesome kicks. As now, bro, once again, not going to cover their flanks. They just get hard engaged on, as the damage is pretty nice from the side of Bro. They are able to get away for a little bit, but then Kalix kind of says no to the Heimer.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to cover your flanks here when you have no real frontliner. I mean, you have a fairly tanky Lee Sin, I guess we could say, but he has to walk towards the bottom side of this fight to try to push towards Drake, because if he's holding the flank angle, Breon could never in a million years actually go through this choke point. Really nice flank gets set up here for Nongshim, and 2 Ocean Drakes, but more than that, it's just getting these extra kills, pushing the Heimer out, and now just grabbing more map control. They haven't been able to yet actually put the pressure on those inhibitors, but we're getting to the point now when you group up as 4-1, it's going to slowly start grinding away at those.
Take a look at Zeri's build, by the way. Not sure if you mentioned this.
The Bloodthirsty, I haven't talked about it yet.
Very interesting, and it looks like he is going to go for a Infinity Edge next. That's what it's looking like.
I like it because you already have a decent amount of lifesteal with them. There it is, as you say. I like the lifesteal that you're going to have in this comp, and how also you have a lot of freedom if you're not one of the big threat targets for the Lee Sin, who's having to deal with Sylas, who's having to deal with Aatrox and Wukong. You're probably not going to get kicked. You're probably not going to get first down unless you have a positional problem. He can build up shields before the fight starts, and he's basically saying, yeah, I could do more damage with something like Runons or the Quick Blades we've seen, but I'd rather just not die, because they have no long-term damage. It's lethality Varus, it's lethality on the Jace. I will win these if I don't die in the first 2 seconds of the fight, so let's just make sure that's the case. Yeah,
I think it's a really good read. It's a cool build. We also had the Wukong going for a pretty fun one. Did go for the Maw of Malmortius, but also the Black Cleaver. Afterwards, just a decent chunk of your damage is going to be attack damage, what with the Zeri and the Aatrox, who also has a Maw of Malmortius, so any kind of poke that's coming out from Syndra and Heimer at this point is pretty negligible, especially when you have all of the sustain. Just feels like Nongshim are just gonna, especially from ahead now, like there was an opportunity for Bro to continue with their lead, but they were not able to grab onto that. And now it just feels a bit doomed. And, you know, guys, we do, again, see the chat the entire time. Please be nice to the losing team. This is a positive.
Hey, they haven't lost
only.
yet.
I said the currently losing team.
The team that's behind, all right.
The team that is behind.
Valdez
please,
is like
please
out
don't
here.
be mad.
Valdez is like, be nice to these losers. I'm like, whoa, man.
No.
No. No, I'm twisting your words. I'm being mean.
Yeah.
We gotta
don't
be. Both
like
of us
Wolf.
need to be more positive, okay? Look, Ivory's level 16. That's good news.
Yeah. He did pick up a Void Staff. He's actually doing damage now.
As like, they're.
Kind of.
Ironically, because Breon took these early Drakes and the Elder isn't going to spawn for so long, like, that's not, like, the Elder flip angle, the LCK Breon Elder flip angle is probably not realistic here, although we are going to seven Drakes probably in this game.
It is a bro game, so, you know, it's the way it goes in LCK or in Challengers.
The longer this game goes, we've, like, kind of passed the point of longer the game goes is better for Nongshim. Now that they're, like, so ahead, it's like longer this game goes. It could be possible. Okay.
Okay, well, stopwatch comes in huge. This is huge.
Where are you going?
Took a supersonic train into that back line as Mihail got the flank again. I feel like there has not been a game or a fight in this game where Nongshim have not gotten a flank. And that is a big problem for Bro. This is not supposed to happen like this, as it looks like this game might just be over from here, guys. We are not going to take that Baron. We are just going to push down mid. It does look like Nongshim, they hit their spike, and they immediately rolled over Bro, as they should be able to take down these Nexus turrets. As you see Raptor, he's like, well, I tried my best to carry these guys in the early game, and, you know, he did a great job, but was not great enough. As down will go the Nexus, Nongshim will take game number 1.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was my first time when we did our current game state prediction where I was wrong, but they really fell apart after that mid play. And this is a composition that will lose tempo 100-0, basically, after one lost fight, losing map control. But they never made any proactive plays after that either, and they stopped side laning. So just a breakdown of communication here. The final moment there was a sight to behold. Like, I've never seen the Zeri try to get that much value out of ult. Like, this is the way. I'm going to go straight into a lethality Varus Jace comp with a Syndra.
Looking like Corki in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like she had the package into the back line or something. It's insane.
A bold display of confidence, let's say. I think the coaching staff will probably be talking to him about his angle of approach afterwards, although it didn't end up being consequential in this particular game.
Valdez said they were losing and Bro loses coincidence. Monka S. The LCK CL is rigged. Monka S. It is all one big conspiracy, guys. Valdez is actually pulling the strings. Today you learned.
Look, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to tell you guys, I think the Bro Challengers team is a top 10 team in the Challengers League. And
see, that's exactly what we want.
They're definitely a top 10 team. And
yeah.
I think that what we saw from them in the early game with the lane prio they had was really good. And I'm not just saying that like, oh, they were winning because they had prio, and then when they lost the game, they lost. But they only win because they had winning matchups. There is some truth to that, but I think the way they used it in the first 15 minutes of the game was quite nice. And they got those objectives. They won some early skirmishes. They won that fight early on at the top side of the map on that first Herald. That play was pretty clean overall. Did have some questions about Frim's positioning later on in the game and his lack of side lane, but when you lose control, there's Wukong out there, you don't know where he is, it becomes hard to side lane. Syndra can't beat the Sylas in the side lane once the rod is complete, once he gets very tanky, so she has to play defensively. And some of the later game win conditions definitely came online here for Nongshim.
Yeah, they absolutely did, as it's pretty nice to watch Kalix kind of turn around that laning phase and then just go over the top. Unai did vote for Sounda. I think some of his engages kind of enabled them to get through the mid game. But Kalix was definitely more flashy, and he had some crazy moments in some of those team fights. So I don't mind this either. Seems like the Korean desk did go for Colix.
Yeah, his kicks
that's all good.
His kicks were good. His engages were good. He did 100-0 Gamin that one time around the Baron pit where he just stole his chains and then blew him up instantly. Whenever there was a disjointed moment for the side of Brion, he was ready to punish. I like it, like you just said. Sound I thought made a bigger impact in the game, was more consistent. The inconsistencies though of Colix in terms of his deficit in CS and stuff like that was more of a product of the matchup and how well he was punished. Individually, I think there's a lot of growth to be had. We'll see how he does in game 2.
Yeah, Colix, 15 years old, as Kevin Kim very hyped about this player, and for a good reason. But guys, we're gonna take a break and we'll be back with game number 2. Hello and welcome back to LCK Challenger League. It's Valdez and Wolf covering Nongshim versus Bro. Game 1 looked pretty good for Bro, and then they kind of just fell apart. Nongshim looked great, though. That was cool to see.
I also thought the draft was really good from Brion. Like, both teams had a good draft, but Brion's draft played to their strengths, and they clearly came in with a different approach for how are we going to win this game against Nongshim, because they've had some tough opponents, right? Nongshim is kind of middle of the pack right now. I believe they're 2-2, so you have the opportunity to come into the series and be like, this is a realistic win, right? Because some series, like D plus Kia, if you're Brion, you're going up against that one, you're like, okay, we can experiment here, but like, this is going to be a rough one. But it's a realistic opportunity to pick up their first win of the season, and I mean game win, because they're now 0-9. So good draft for the playstyle. Just gotta tighten up, a little bit some of that mid game, because they were so close. I mean, they were really close to going and taking that one away. And like you said, 80% of LCK teams probably finish that one out. 85% of those games you're gonna actually close it out, but they couldn't quite pull it together.
Yeah, and a lot of the meta nowadays, you don't see comps like that. Generally it's like you got a bruiser in the top side, you've got like a bruiser in the jungle, and then you've got mid laner that is sometimes like melee, if you look at Silas, and then you've got bot lane, which is what everything is played around, but it wasn't even necessarily the way it went in that game. So pretty interesting to see that game play out and kind of show why you don't see a lot of that. And the Lee Sin as well, did a lot in the early game, but then once it passed like 20 minutes, the game just like totally flipped off to the other side. It was very interesting, as Bro has selected blue side for game 2.
Not surprising, but if you consider like how they drafted in game 1, I guess you could say it's surprising, because you want to have that counter pick and you want to be able to draft those prio lanes. But maybe they want to just change up the bottom side of the map and hope to get like a Varus Ashe, or maybe they're going to go for another double 80 lane. There's a lot of different ones available right now. Something like a Karma could also be prioritized by them. Maybe they're fishing for a Rise here, because I do feel right now most teams generally agree that the prio picks on blue side are powerful, but the counter picks on red side are stronger. So you'll see teams even pick blue side in one game of a best of 3 and then pick red side later because they're adjusting to like what the other team is drafting. I think we actually have the healthiest like blue side, red side sort of selection and where the power level is that we've had in a while.
I think that's a good read, yeah.
Because like remember last year it was like blue side is busted for like so long. People like were saying like the whole series was decided by them getting blue side on game 1. I don't feel like we're in that. Yeah, I don't think we're in that world anymore.
No, I don't think we are. Like at the very beginning of 2023, I was a bit worried because everybody was picking red. But that's changed. I think, you know, nowadays it really depends on what the team wants to play, what kind of champs they want to play, where do they want to counter pick, what kind of bottom lane duo are they going to go for. So I think it's a good read, and we'll see if it helps them. I mean, they had a pretty nice, you know, dominating bottom lane. I just feel like they drafted like the entire draft theme just then became like, oh, well, Varus and Heimer have got some really good poke and harass. Let's make everybody on the team have great poke and harass. And that's not necessarily the meta.
The draft, yeah, didn't have a strong foundation to it, you know? It's like if you were building a Hearthstone deck and you saw all the 8.
There's a lot less smiling this time. I feel bad.
But if you had like a Hearthstone deck and you saw all these like 8-cost mana cards, and you're like, wow, all these legendaries have like 6 stacks and like they're super dope, and you just filled your deck with those, and you're like, well, I can't play the early game now.
Yeah.
This is like the opposite, I guess. In this case, like all these strong early game picks and winning the prio lane.
They tried to play Zoo, and then the guy just like played Blizzard, and it was like, okay, well, I guess this is over.
Got consecrated.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the new Hearthstone cards. I don't know the old ones.
Me neither.
Consecrate might not even be in the game anymore. Like, I don't know. Probably still is. I couldn't tell you guys. I used to be a big Hearthstone player. Valdez was too, but not so much these days.
Back in the day. So we're already in draft. And yeah, curious to see where this one is going to go. We got Cassante banned here.
Yep, so some of these bans looking similar. The Zeri ban, very interesting here. Very rare to see that because usually, especially on blue side, you're picking strong picks in the bottom lane that you want to crush a Zeri with. Like, you're like, I hope they pick Zeri because that's what our draft is based around. Or you're like, okay, well, we're going to beat them in the wave clear. Let's see what their option was. But to ban it outright is very unusual. And this leaves Ashe up so far here. The Rise is taken away.
I think it's fine for Bro to leave it. Okay. Well, it seems like they do not want to have a chance at the best bottom laner currently. So they'll just ban that one away. Seems like they want to go for something else.
It's not probably going to be another Varus pick. Although,
yeah, this time Lucian not banned.
This is kind of puzzling to me because usually you want Lucian Nami into specifically the Zeri or Sivir in much more rare case. But banning the Zeri here basically just says you're playing this into the Varus lane where you can be outpoked, and there's a lot of options here for Nongshim in terms of support. Like, they could play the Karma, they could play the Heimerdinger, they could just stave off that early Lucian pressure and start winning this lane, especially with some support from the jungle pick that we're probably going to see picked up here. So, I'm
sorry, just the entire YouTube chat. It's like, where's Faker? Guys, T1 isn't even playing, first of all. Second of all, it's not the LCK. This is Challengers.
Faker is probably taking a well-deserved rest right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not. Yeah.
He might be streaming right now. I doubt it, but he might be. I mean, I don't know. I'm not telling you guys where Faker is. I'm not calling him. Where is he specifically? I'm like, I don't know, in Seoul somewhere, but very likely.
Speak for yourself, Wolf. Everybody knows that the casters are very good friends with Faker. It's just common lore that you should know. We all have very close relationships with them. Definitely. So Wukong was picked. Do you think we see another Lee Sin in this one?
I don't think so, because I think that you're not going to have the same sort of power with Lee Sin in this draft. Depending on what mid is, like, obviously if they got something like an Azir, which seems unlikely, maybe you do. Varus Lulu is an interesting choice you can make, because you lose a lot of that pushing power in wave clear, and...
That's pretty yucky, Wolf.
Like, Varus is in the early game, especially if it's going to be lethality Varus, which... Based on what we're seeing right now with the Sejuani coming through too, I hope not. Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, maybe it won't be with the Lulu coming in.
But he's a cooldown-based, wave clear-based poke lethality champion in this meta, generally speaking. And this just gives Brianna lane were like, wow, you don't even have like damage to trade back on us. You don't have a Zeri here. You don't have like, if your Varus Q misses, like, good luck. Like, they're just gonna push on you so hard. Silas ban, respect it here. We'll see the cast in first.
I like the Silas ban. I mean, Colix definitely could have picked that up for himself, especially with 3 ultimates hanging and looking very delicious already on the side of Bro. And the way that Colix was able to play it. So maybe he wants to go for something else, maybe the Akali in this game.
Interesting read on the meta here for Brion with this Jace ban. I think we're seeing a lot more Jace in Challengers and sprinkled around other regions. We've seen it in the LPL and stuff, but it's individually in a draft like this, not what you necessarily want. But if it was picked for Nongshim, it would be a very similar draft to what we saw last game. So it feels like Nongshim are like, no, I'm just going to play Renekton here. It's just totally fine. And Brion are like, no, I definitely pick Jace in this situation. I'm going to ban it, because that's exactly what they did in the previous game with the Varus draft. Interesting read. I think they have a very different idea about what's strong right now than Nongshim do. And this is the Renekton we were thinking might get picked by Brion when they went for the Jace instead.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And the Gnar looks to be picked here into the Renekton. Gnar just the mainstay top pick that's very safe. Can play into anything in the Akali.
Blind.
I was thinking the Akali could be picked here for Colix, but it does get picked up by Ivory, looks like.
Yeah, just a hover for now. Very interesting pick if they do go for it here. The Azir was banned. We've seen it commonly as a response to Lucian drafts or Azir drafts, and sometimes both, because you see a lot of Azir with the Lucian drafts. But they'll swap over to the Syndra at the last moment here.
Yeah, they don't have any AP damage at this point, so if you're picking Asua, you're trolling.
Just gonna be the Victor. Okay. The Bulldog favorite. We've seen Bulldog play this champion to great success in this matchup. We've seen him play it super aggressively into melee matchups with a Ghost build. I don't think we'll be seeing that this time around. I think Colix is definitely gonna go teleport here into the Syndra, try to put the pressure on early. Can be a skill-based matchup, but Victor generally should win it. And that's one of the things that you kind of lose here with this Syndra face-up pick on blue side, is they get to play something that's a little bit more control-based and a little bit more damage in the later parts of the game. Something that was sorely missed for Brion in that last comp. They've got really strong front line for this Varus, or some early game control. I think not a huge fan of the Varus Lulu lane here, but can get some control depending on how it's played. I overall want to say I like Nongshim's draft better, but that Varus Lulu makes me feel weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, you know, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something. It's like, something is just not right today. Varus is not going with Lulu very often, but, you know.
Yeah, it's like it's like if Brion were like, we locked the Nami and we're like, okay, they're going for Lucian lane, they locked in Aphelios. I'm like, wait, that's not right. Like,
I think that would be even more
Nami Aphelios. It's not that bad, but it is. It's not something that we see often or really at all. So we'll see how they play it out here. I think it's going to be really important for the early game.
Well, this should be interesting. You know, bro, they definitely have some ways to win this early game again. Maybe this time they'll try to do that and actually bring it into a stronger mid game, which their comp this time around does have a lot more of. But it looks like we're just about ready here, guys. Nongshim versus Bro game number 2 about to start up. Nongshim confidently did wrestle control of game 1. We'll have to see if they can do it again.
Let Bro cook rotisserie chicken.
Let's go into game 2. T-Song from the YouTube chat asks, what is the name of the casters? My name is Donovan, and I am casting with, what's your name?
Chandler.
Chandler, okay. Cool, perfect. That's our names. I think we forgot to do that.
We forgot the do. I think the tone of this series is a little bit somber, though. Lethal tempo for Jiu, thankfully, in this game. So we have been faked out by this a few times, where he picks lethal tempo and still goes for lethality. Don't think that will be the case this time around.
These casters mad cringe. Oh, we just got called out.
Oh,
no. Dude, this guy in the YouTube chat is just booming us. What are we gonna do?
I don't know, man. I feel like I'm super cringe.
How are you gonna cast now that we're cringe? I didn't know.
I wish my name. I wish I didn't pick Chandler. I wish I picked a cool name like ASDD, ASD, ASG.
Oh man.
Oh, he's backpedaling, Valdez.
Oh man.
He's backpedaling. We love you. Thanks for joining our stream.
Yeah. You can have whatever opinion you want, just as long as you're enjoying the stream and having a great time at the Challenger League.
Some trading here in the early game. Corrupting pot for both control mages. Very standard. This is what I'm talking about. If you don't actually hit some really nice poke here as the Varus, you can take really bad trades, obviously, especially once level 2 is hit here for Gamin and Palu. What are you chuckling about?
You guys ever think about bro before bed and just smile?
Every night. No, only every night, Valdez. Only every night.
How does he know us so well? I mean, who doesn't just think about bro before bed and just smile?
Just smile.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Wait, how old is Wolf?
I am, how old am I in Western age?
100.
I'm 32. Yeah, 32.
32
I'm old.
So far.
So far.
This year, though, you will be turning 33.
That's right. Coming up.
I will be turning 32.
I'm a whole year ahead of you.
When do you feel like was the moment you realized you were 30? Was it when you turned 30 or was it when you turned 31?
I feel like it was actually, weirdly enough, like kind of when I turned 32. I was like, oh, I'm in my 30s now. You know, like it definitely felt like when I turned 32 was the moment where I was like, okay, it's not just like, it's cool being 30 now, you know? Like everyone's like, don't worry, when you're 30, nothing changed. I turned 30 and I was like, oh my God, they're right, nothing changed. But when I turned 32, I was like, everything changed and it's been changed the whole time. Yeah. I'm in my 30s.
It's the moment you realize. Because I had some friends that were like, it's 31. Like 30 is just, no, that's like the fake one. But once you hit 31, it's like, oh my God, like what happened to me? But I suppose for Wolf, it came a little bit later.
Yeah. I think part of that.
I'm not there as well yet, even though I am 31.
Yeah, and I think part of it's, you know, with the pandemic and stuff, like, didn't get to live the 31, 32 that quickly or that well compared to normal 31, 32-year-olds over the years. This is a nice little scry, although doesn't actually get vision of where they are. And he's just going to take that back because he knows that the bottom lane is missing. Could have been risky. We have seen junglers get caught. But yeah, the control of the lane here feels like it's definitely gone back towards Breon's side. And I'm a little bit surprised at the Varus priority when it's going to be played in a draft like this, because there are other AD carries you can play that we don't talk about, like Aphelios and Jinx and
No. Those don't exist.
They still exist. Jin is also very good. Could have been picked in a draft like this. But
Jin actually would have been really nice in a draft like this.
Yeah.
I think that's a great call. Like Jin Lulu could have worked, you know, if you really, like, it seems like they really wanted to play Lulu, so could have worked.
It's weird because I think a lot of teams haven't figured out yet that Varus is really about how much he controls the laning phase, where that's so important, and that prio is what is winning games and snowballing games right now in this meta. And as a AD carry, he can do okay, but I think there were other better options here, especially with the face-up Lucian Nami lane. And like, we'll see how this plays out in reality as we just see the Noon Quiver pickup here for Gamin. With this back timing, he's actually going to lose quite a few minions here.
Ah! He was trying to go for the Spell Thief's stacks, and he nearly got blown up by Nami. Unlucky.
Close call.
Now he can't back in the lane. He had to walk all the way back to his turret. He didn't even have boots. He's probably thinking, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, poor support player.
Yeah, sometimes you want to get that plus 20, though.
I always do.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Nowadays, when I play support, I just always pick Lux, and I tell the AD carry to play Caitlyn, and I haven't lost yet on this patch.
It's a good idea.
Since season 13, I'm like 100% win rate.
Wow.
Well, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm curious about Raptor's effect on this game. as the Sejuani instead of the Lee Sin. Feel like he had a good opportunity in the early game, in game number 1, but after that wasn't able to do too much. But the Sejuani might take a little bit longer to really get online and make a big impact, but perhaps he can kind of lead this team a little bit more, which might be part of the reason why he is playing for Challengers this week.
Oh, I do want to address something really serious
Yes.
in the chat, but I might have to wait a second here because we're looking for a Lulu Wukong gank onto Ivory.
The Lulu Wukong gank, he's not even level 6,
Yeah,
but he did get the flash out of Ivory, who plays it very safe. Unfortunately, though, Sounda keeps his flash, which means that a follow-up gank will be extremely deadly, and Ivory will have to play it safe or potentially die.
Let's see how much of this CS Gio gets before I talk about the really important question I saw in YouTube chat. The realist is, okay, it gets a decent amount of it, not going to fall too far behind, which is how to grow $30 with a 30-cent only. Now, this is assuming that it has to be dimes, by the way. It has to be 3 dimes.
Why does it have to be 3 dimes, though?
Because it's not gonna, if you have more coins than that, it's not going to work. And 3 dimes is the most efficient way to have 30 cents in coin form. Of course, we're talking about 30 cents USD. I'm not talking about Canadian dollars. It will not work with Australian dollars. You need to make sure it's good soil, and it also needs to be sunlight. No artificial light. Now, plant it. Now, wait about 30 days. And you should see the sprouts come out. Now, if they don't come out, you did it wrong, or your soil is bad, or potentially you're not watering it enough. If you have natural rain,
sunlight.
Yeah, natural rain is much better than like using just water from your tap or whatever. So just keep that in mind when you think about where you're going to plant your 30 cents to turn it. And when it sprouts, the leaves should eventually mature into 3 $10 bills.
Whoa.
And that's how you turn your 30 cents into $30.
I guess
that's how you
why
grow it with a 30 cent only.
I guess that's why you said 3 dimes, right? Because there's no $25 bill, right?
No.
You can't do a quarter and a nickel as Porardia, very on-point name for this question, did mention that a quarter and a nickel is probably more efficient. But as you were mentioning, you need 3 dimes to grow into 3 $10 bills.
Yeah. Also,
otherwise, it's not going to work.
Everyone knows that nickel is bad for the soil. So
Yeah, of course. That's like just common knowledge. Everybody knows about that.
All right, Raptor, this is... Okay, he's Sejuani, so he's fine, but it was a very interesting exchange there because Nongshim were like, we don't have vision, so we're not 100% sure if we can actually stop him. They could have, but they didn't know, so they just let him take it, and then he just darts away. So first Drake actually going to Breon here.
Yeah, did a good job taking down Jeff. No Jeff Soul in this one, probably for the best. I don't think I want to lose my mind this early on. We have to keep the mind intact before we get to the end of our 7-day journey of League of Legends, which will happen next Monday, Wolf. So got to make sure that we're keeping it intact for today on Tuesday.
Yes.
And that there's not too many Jeff Souls, as I am a big hater.
Just one more tip. The dimes should be at least older than the year 2015, or they're not mature enough.
Okay. Do you think like a 2016 dime might work?
If the other two are...
Will my $10 turn into $5 potentially?
No, they just won't. It just won't sprout, and you'll have to start over.
Wow. So I would have to find new dimes. Can you reuse the dimes if it didn't work the first time?
That's actually a really good question, and I wouldn't personally, because if it didn't work the first time, there's pretty good chance they're duds.
Mm-hmm. I guess you wouldn't know because you get it perfect every time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've never messed it up before, but you can go to your local bank and make sure they're not defective. If you,
the bank would know.
The bank, most banks, not all banks, but
okay.
Go to their website. You can check and find out.
Going to a bank's website sounds like some special kind of torture. I'm not gonna name any specific websites or any specific banks that we may or may not have worked with here, but it certainly can be less fun. Sounda just gonna walk up and drop this one down. Does have his ultimate available here, and there's a wave. That's a really nice culling to actually deny the wave, and they should be able to stave off this pressure here because Paulo also has ult. Just a casual walk up and drop the Herald. Yeah.
This is kind of a pacifist's game right now. We're in a...
That's why we're talking about growing $30 with 30 cents. With a 30 cents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With just a 30 cents.
It's really a good question. The other option you have is maybe you go to the World of Warcraft auction house and maybe you can build it up there. But I'm not speaking from experience, of course.
Oh.
So Lucian just got his Gale Force. You think now we're going to see some action?
I think we definitely will see some action here on this second. I mean, this is some action, but not, you know.
I feel like Cox has got a good lead on this lane, though. He's trying to bully the Syndra as much as possible, as the Victor does have a pretty good early matchup into the Syndra.
Yeah, we talked about this in the draft. Like, the Victor pick can put some pressure on early, and you can turn this into leads elsewhere on the map. Unfortunately, they didn't really do that early. They ended up losing that Drake, but that was a bubble.
That was one of the bubbles that has been cast before.
Yes.
Sounda, he's getting in there. I really like Sounda as a player. He's like, I click forward into the enemy, and then I try to hit my R button. No Dominus. Frem is like, I'm desperately trying to make you use your ultimate, and Mihail just says no.
I feel like you were about. I thought you were about to actually like legit give like good reasons why you like Sounda, because I think he is very sound. Let's say as a player so far, but. I think everyone's talking about Lucid, obviously, because he's definitely easily the best jungle player we have right now in Challengers. But, you know, we got to shout out the little guys, you know? Sounda, Courage, has had some great games.
Courage.
Yeah, there's some real gems here in the LCK Challengers League for junglers.
Yep. Some real gems for the LCS to take away from us.
No!
The LEC, how about,
I hope
how about
Papa
the LEC?
Smithy's not watching.
How about the PCS? You think PCS is okay?
LJ, I'll give you LJL.
Okay.
You get LJL can have you.
Right.
That's where I'll say okay, but I will draw the line after LJL.
Lawrence Palmer from the YouTube chat says, "Just start killing already."
That's pretty violent.
That's kind of cruel. I mean, you let them kill when they're ready. You know, you can't force people to kill. They got to do it of their own volition.
You know, the literally can't kill me in Challengers is added with the constantly living moniker, but that's what the CL stands for.
True.
Literally can't kill, constantly living. And so that's just where we are right now.
Yeah.
It's taking this Drake, by the way, again, passively. No contest whatsoever. No cross map either.
Just, you know, kind of hanging out. And
I don't know what the latest First Blood record is.
Hey, Infernal Soul.
That means we're going to be fighting enjoyers. Soon. Yeah. I think that means we're going to be fighting a little bit sooner than maybe we expected. I want to see if I have any data on the latest First Blood.
How old are these players? At least 15, and generally not older than 21, 22.
I would say...
But some of them are.
I haven't calculated it, but I think the average age of a Challengers player is about 19 or 20, because we do have so many players that are specifically like 21.
I think it might be like 18.
I don't know.
I mean, if we look at like...
I mean, you're looking at a small sample size here.
If you look at Nongshim, they have 4 players on the roster who are 2003, which is 20.
Yeah.
So I'm actually proving your point.
I was going to say, I'm like,
So according to this, Wolf is right. Anyway.
I talked about this on Pog State, and I've talked about it on the Challengers broadcast a little bit. Because we have such a great system, no one should just get 2 objectives for free, like completely uncontested.
Nice.
The way that players are pushed into Challengers, they go through Academy first. The youngest players are in Academy, where Dogma is playing right now, and then you go to Challengers later. So a lot of these players have actually gotten years of experience under the belt before they come here. So there's a lot of older players than you'd expect, because there is a system below this one. Just going to take that Herald and drop it instantly topside as Colix. Okay.
They're throwing a lot into this Renekton, and I don't think they're going to kill him. I mean, he had Dominus and Flash. Meanwhile, Colix, as you mentioned...
He's just taken a whole turret.
Bro, really trying to force a kill onto the Renekton. I mean, I know we all hate Renekton, but
literally
I think they're taking it a little bit too far. Like, they didn't have to use 3 ultimates on the Renekton.
All right, Sounda, Flash, and ult. And oh, it didn't stop the charge there. Was too scared, reasonably, but from what we could see, we know he probably could have stopped that.
Sorry, my math has been called out. Sorry, they are still currently 19. Still proves Wolf's point. Although, support player, HH, which, by the way, is for Hyunho Lee. That is his name.
I was gonna see if Chronicle was in the chat because I wanted to ask about this because I thought he might know if that was his name was from, or if it was from haha, like typing.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be haha. Yeah. But yeah, he turned 24 days ago, so I was right at least about one of them. It's good to be
birthday.
A little bit right. Sounda does not know about this. The bubble will miss, and Sounda will get it as both teams run away from each other.
It was just like the most like, can we stop him? Nah. Because it's a Wukong. They didn't have the Nami ult. The bubble goes wide. He doesn't even need to really use his warrior trickster or anything like that to get out of the dodge. But and he still takes the scuttle. So, I'm
a bit worried about Bro. You know, the Syndra spike is not going to be used at all. They gave away 2 objectives for free.
I mean, forget the Syndra spike, the Lucian spike as well.
Lucian spike as well, yeah. Both of them spiked. Meanwhile, the Victor and the Varus were not really that spiked. I mean, they're going to be bested around 2 items to 3 plus. So they're kind of just hanging out. And, you know, all of this passivity, Nongshim, in this case, like, they have parts of their comp, I would say, that can fight very nicely at level 6 and stuff like that, but they don't have to, because I think as the game comes along, they should be in a better and better spot.
Especially considering that Victor freely got his rod fairly early in the game, not like the earliest time ever is.
He got it earlier as well because he skipped the tier. As, okay, nice bubble this time, but you see this, like, every time someone on Nongshim is running at them, maybe Sounda, they just run away. They're like, no, you've probably got some backup. I feel like they're a little bit scarred after game 1, to be honest.
It really does feel that way. I think you have the same read as me on this. Is so much vision set up. This is not going to be a kill still. I thought for a moment we were going for the Lulu triple knock up here, but back away, tidal waves up. Yeah, this game, like the Victor giving that Rod of Ages early and then just getting a whole turret to himself and winning the side lane here where he hasn't been given a Gnar to deal with because Gnar can't beat him either. Gnar also a level down, going to be 2 levels down eventually once that Rod hits. It's just, Nongshim have maybe 10% more prio on the map, just that little amount, and Bro's timidness and their lack of commitment means that they're just getting these objectives for free now. Speaking of, 1's up in 10 seconds, and Bro, I think, really should fight for it.
Yeah, I like what Bro are doing now, where they, they've got their Lucian in mid. They're trying to punish the Varus to get close to the wave. They're trying to get priority through there. And let's see, I mean, if they can group up for this. As Mega Gnar is getting close, we have teleport here for Frem. As now they're trying to chase... Okay, they really hate Renekton.
Renekton antis.
Like, what is this? It's like they're throwing away objectives to chase a Renekton. Yeah. I know, like, we all hate him, but, like, what is going on, guys? I think they have something to say.
The weird thing is, like, you can make this play happen if it's a set play, if Frim is there, and you're trying to shut this Renekton down early, and you have somebody still near Drake, and you can kind of block them out and force them into this awkward situation. But if you just tunnel on the Renekton, like it was almost like a whack-a-mole type situation where, like, all eyes went to the Renekton the second he showed on the map. As this could be the first blood. It looks likely.
Just want to say that Faker is currently farming camels in New Zealand with Deft. If you're looking for him in the YouTube chat, now you know where to find him.
Okay.
Gotta go to New Zealand.
I thought he was in Seoul right now, but
yeah, no.
Good to know.
Also, this is Challenger League where Faker does not play. That could be another reason.
So they didn't actually commit to the dive. So still no kills. We are at 2030 now. It has eclipsed current year.
Oh, I thought it was Deft's farm. I guess it was Chovy's farm. Sorry, I got the names mixed up.
Oh, I just thought like there was an update and Chovy sold it to Deft.
Yeah.
His former
Could
teammate.
happen, you know. As here we go, Raptor. You can see he's trying to be a little bit proactive. He's trying to get some stuff in. The Sounda, again, he only taps forward. This is the only direction he goes. And he seemingly has baited Bro into a fight as Raptor is just going to get isolated here. Gamin not ready to go on in, and Frim is not ready to hit Mega Gnar. So Bro once again kind of getting caught not ready to go. As Mihail will be frontlining very nicely here. Nongshin may be able to only get the jungler from Bro.
And this is a fight over vision for the Baron pit. But you know what? I'm not going to criticize it. I'm not going to say anything bad. It's our first blood, 2050. Okay, we'll take it. 2050, 55-ish. I didn't see the exact timer, but we got there in the end, you know? Soundy's going forward still.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Palu will have to flash away. He was getting caught a lot by the Wukong in game number 1. And the Nami's going to be in a little bit of a harder points here. As you can see, Raptor, he's trying to make something happen, and Sounda looks like he goes too far, but actually, it was a bait all along. I
mean, the Raptor is also trolling Gamin super hard. Like, the Warrior Trickster goes up, and he's like, okay, I can't kill him, but then the Raptors block his shots, and he's like, damn, like, we're just not going to get anything out of this. So he doesn't actually end up getting that much done there, and ends up being a kill, obviously, on the turn. Sounda says this belongs to me.
Sounda, I feel like he belongs on Bro because he is such a Giga Chad in all of these games so far. Like, he just has no chill. He only goes forward.
Will he get robbed of POG a second time?
You know, I think Chovy's gonna get it for game 2. That's my thought here.
That's what chat thinks.
Yeah. Somebody in YouTube chat said, Brendan and Woof are my favorite casters.
That's right, Woof Woof.
That's why I was laughing earlier. I just like the idea of calling you Woof instead of Wolf.
Someone asked Vales and Wolf what time. Okay, there's the correction. What time or what day is Pog Stick releasing? It's delayed this time, so we'll have an extra week. So it'll be in like 2 weeks.
Week and a half?
Yeah, a week and a half.
Something like that. Yeah, we'll be delayed a week. So sorry about that. Wolf, are you a cat person or a dog person, Wolf?
I'm a cat person, Vales.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that.
But I mean, I like dogs. I grew up with dogs, cats, and chickens.
Chickens?
Yeah, and like fish and some gerbils and stuff like that.
What?
But I had a lot of pets.
Are you living on some kind of like farm? I don't know.
I did live in a house that had a lot of outside space. I'd say I wouldn't call it a farm per se. It may have been a farm once, like in the 1800s or something, but I was just farming CS at the house.
No sour potato, bad sour potato. They are not they are not for eating. Okay, they are pets. They are nice.
Yeah. It's really messed up. Especially considering so many pets were eaten by coyotes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
sorry about
actually
that.
It's a really sore subject.
Yeah. Well,
it's probably find that pretty offensive, chatter.
All right, here we go. Sounda is looking to engage again. This guy just literally cannot say no to the engage party. Raptor is quite tanky at this point, and they went pretty far this time around. Nongshin got to be careful. The chains, though, gonna come out. The Veganar is denied, and G will just take him down. And now Nongshin are ready to press their buttons. Raptor too low to tank up anymore. And Bro thought they had a nice little look there, but Nongshin were able to turn it around.
Come in, be careful, man. That is a lot of damage there on the side of Nongshin. The range problem that Brion's comp has, we haven't talked about it too much. They have a frontline evolution, but you need to snowball the game and have map control like we were talking about, because you can see in these fights, every time they want to be decisive even, to deal damage, they're just putting themselves in harm's way with the Wukong, with the Renekton, so much range with the Varus, and then, yeah, Victor is also fairly low range, but in these choke points, he's not going to do so much damage. And
will they
we're going to sneak a Drake.
The Drake, yes, they will.
I think they're just going to get away with it.
I think Nongshin might have an idea this is happening. And they are going to teleport. This looks a little late, though, to try to punish this. Double teleport even. Ooh. So, yeah. Break this one down for us, Wolf.
Well, I mean, look, Brion here trying to make a proactive play around setting up vision for this Drake, and then Raptors up here in the front lane. Gamin's like, okay, we're going to set up a combo on Mihail, take him out, and then we'll win this fight 5v4 with a flanking Syndra on the other side, right?
Chains.
Yeah. Chains come in, the turn's real. And, like, look at where Ivory was in this fight. If they actually get that pick on the Mihail, and Syndra comes in on the flank angle, they win the fight and they get control. Like, it was a nice idea, but there's a range problem, right? This Renekton is just too tanky. He has Sterox now.
Well, they're going to try it again. They really do hate this Croc. and he is not going to die. I'm sorry to tell you guys, bro, that it is not going to happen. You are not going to get a kill onto the Renekton. As in goes Sounda. As Common, man, he's trying so hard to like output a ton of damage. He's getting like highest damage in a lot of these fights. It's just not enough. And
a lot of it's into a front line.
Yeah, a lot of it is just into Mihail. I don't know if he's got like a taunt buff on him and they can't seem to break through that front line, but yeah, not gonna work.
Gamin is like trying to carry so hard too, like you say. He's seeing all these opportunities. Scale Force on cooldown now, so can't commit further. Kalix is level 17 with his rod. The 2-level advantage we were talking about earlier that he was gonna have. Like, he is untouchable. All of his abilities upgraded a long time ago, and
so you think they'll give him POG again?
You know, I mean, I wouldn't actually hate it, but I feel like it's either Mihail or it's going to be the jungle player whose name I just forgot when I was talking about it. Sounda.
That was a nice try from Raptor. He just kind of got baited and there wasn't enough CC in
and there's just like, there's so much armor on this Renekton. He also has Sterix, he also has Lulu's ult, he also has Dominus, like.
And G just cannot miss. This guy is also insane.
Yeah, he could be in the running for POG this game.
3-0-1, he's had pretty much fight-changing ultimates time and time again. I mean, that's 3 times in a row, right? The first time he hit Raptor around the Raptors, right? The second time he got the Mega Gnar right when he was about to get a huge engage, and then the Victor follow-up. And now here, again, he was able to get that pick-off onto Raptor and kind of win it for the team, so.
Ivory wants to push this wave and defend here up pretty far away. A very risky call when there's a Wukong here.
Yeah, he's not going to get the stun either. He's going to have Raptor to come on over and nearly get him. Sounda's so low and he still goes in. This guy just really has no chill. And he will take one for the team to allow Kalix to pick up yet another kill.
Yeah, that was that was a really nice turn, actually. Ivory baits them in a little bit there, and with the insta-scatter, he actually pushes Sounda just out of range there so he can't get the second knock-up, and Sounda commits his smite and wants to go in super hard, but does end up dying there with all the damage. And some extra gold being traded back here. Unfortunately for Breon, even picks like this don't matter necessarily if there's no objective to take while that jungler is dead.
Oh no. Look at all the pings, Juice, like, save me. No, you're fine, buddy.
He's all right. He's all right. There has been this recent trend of people being very mad about how many control wards are bought. Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of comments about this.
It started with some of our, I'm not sure how to call them, like, stream analysts?
Co-streamers?
Yeah, like a lot of our co-streamers, a lot of our analysts in the community were basically like, you're wasting a lot of money and you're stopping your first item power spike by a lot.
Yeah,
and when you do look at the numbers,
yeah, the support stuff is definitely okay. Hold on, speaking of supports,
I don't even know what's going on here. But Jiu did hit his ultimate, so that's actually a lot of damage. Raptor is going to have to back away. As Sounda, you know, he can't stop himself. He just can't handle it. Oh no.
But I've even seen frustration towards how many controllers people are buying before objectives. It's not going to save Frim here necessarily.
Nice little tidal wave. As Frim stays, not going to be the answer
Victor
here against Omega Fed Victor. Cannot emphasize the Omega enough. As now, nice little flank coming in here. There is a teleport from Mihail, but he is not coming in, as that is going to be a couple of kills, it looks like, as Ju will be left to the wolves. He actually flashes and cleanses. Not quite my tempo. And now he's actually going to get Kalix a little bit baited, and now he's got a flash.
What you guys still know about Valdez is when he says not quite my tempo, like, Valdez is actually like, that's like the nicest thing that comes to his mind.
Yeah.
And it's actually just a really mean line from Whiplash as well, but it's like the nicest thing Valdez can think of.
Yeah.
He says it in real life. He doesn't say it in casting very much, but yeah. Well, Breon back in the game suddenly. I wouldn't say they have a massive lead or anything like that, but getting Soul Point here is
Two
huge.
Infernals, yeah.
And it was a greedy teleport from Frim, to me, I thought initially, because the guy is super low, but he has his Narbar in a good spot. It's almost completed. He decides to go to the back there and he traps them. And this is the kind of aggressive, proactive play we just didn't really see from Breon when they started to lose control of game one. And finally, we're starting to see it come through here. This is Frim, who's the hero of this entire play, right? He baits them into this fight. Again, kind of a misplay from him, but this is why they overextend. And look at where his Narbar is. As soon as he stops showing, he TPs back. There's a control ward, but he doesn't actually come onto that. He comes deep in, super far back, so they think they're safe. They don't see that warp in. And it's just a disaster. Geo's flashed and cleanse. Definitely leaving a little bit to be desired. And then they have the follow-up CC to catch, or attempt to catch the victor there. And suddenly, Baron spawns. Brionne have map control. Challengers game. A Challengers game in LCK Challengers.
The bottom lane, okay, he is going to teleport into the fight. As now they are looking for the flank. Nongshim's still 5,000 gold up, but at the same time, Calyx, he's just frontlining. Look at this. He's got a massive gravity well, and he's got a Lulu behind him, and he is taking a lot of the damage here. He's still not dead. They cannot kill the victor, as they finally will. Raptor will pick up a double kill. Jiu, though, is relatively untouched because of that Giga Chadness from the side of Calyx, knowing he's got the backup, and it's enough for Nongshim to win the fight.
He has Zonias, he has Wild Growth. The guy's just not afraid of anything. Okay, we're going to see a potential steal here for Raptor to look for. Doesn't have Smite, actually, so never mind. It's coming up here, but I don't think they have enough time.
Yeah, Mihail's going to stun him as well, as they are sticking around. This Renekton is being a menace in the backline. The culling mostly going to hit Zhonya's air, as Jiu is pretty huge at this point in time. Not sure about that Frim when nobody is able to follow up. Thought maybe the Lucian would, but take a look at his health bar. So now they're just on the run. Looks like Raptor will also go down.
Yeah, that was a contest that was very greedy. And if you don't have Smite, as you can see, it's coming up just now. If you don't have Smite, I think it's very greedy to try to look for that play, especially when your base is open. Now you have to walk back in shambles with Baron against you, and you're losing all semblance of map control. You can't pre-push any waves or anything like that. Just a really risky call, and if you get a steal or somebody snipes it randomly, even without Smite, like, you'll feel great about it, but that's not the kind of proactivity we're talking about here on the English cast.
Soundo?
He's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. I think he's okay. He's gonna sound off the horn with that nice little emote, as they're just gonna get double inhibitor here with this Baron. They already got bot because of the nice push from Mile before that fight even started, so just putting themselves in a fantastic position. As you know, guys, I don't know if we're even gonna get to the Elder Flip. I know everybody's calling for it, you know, but I don't know. Nongshim are in big control. They're probably gonna have control of the map when this Infernal spawns, so we might get the 7 Elemental Drake, but I'm not sure about the Elder Flip.
I think we will get the Drake. Although, if there's an error here from Bro, the game could end literally now.
Well, it's a nice little chain of corruption, but also the angle here on the tidal wave is pretty good, as in they go Jiu, the amazing cleanse to come through as they are being flanked by a Meganar. Uh-oh, this is huge. A 3-man into the wall. The Lulu ult's not going to be enough to save them. As you see, Jiu is desperately trying to fight back here. He's going to get one kill, nearly kills a second. Jeez. And a very nice flank from Bro.
Frim making it happen twice now on the Gnar.
There they are. They're not out of this game yet.
Okay.
Maybe it will be the Elder Flip.
It could be. That being said, Brionne are the ones with the Drake lead, so if they actually are able to take it after this flank, they will just stop us. Oh, you're talking about Elder Flip. Sorry, I thought you were talking about 7 Drakes. Yeah. It does seem like this. Frim just teleports here, and they're like, oh no, no way out. And the Cyclone is good, but it's just unfortunately a little bit too late. Like, it's exactly what he wants to be doing, but if he was a little bit more reactionary with it there. Didn't have Flash, so couldn't actually use it to stop him. And nice try there on the stop, but a really great play from Frim. And Brionne trying to accelerate us to that Elder Drake, as you mentioned. And this game is just kind of left me a little bit bewildered, Valdez.
You feeling a little flippant?
Yes.
Yeah. G was able to do nearly 7,000 damage in that fight, even though he was basically just hounded the entire time. He's got a very nice amount of lifesteal, actually, in his build, as Nongshim are just going to get the Drake seemingly for free, I guess, because the lanes were kind of in a really bad state for Bro, so they're not really able to gank up here, or group up here, I should say.
Yeah, that's the reason, because of the two inhibitors being down, as you alluded to. But quick POG check. I feel like right now, if Nongshim closes one out, I've kind of changed my tune. I think Gio definitely gets it. I think his positioning has been good. The damage has been real. And there's no question if Brion, no matter what happens next, man, there's no question that Frim gets it if Brion actually somehow turns this one around. I mean, he has literally saved this team so many times. The game would probably have ended by now if he hadn't made those two critical plays. Speaking of critical plays, we still have a long way for the next objective. These inhibs will respawn, and Brion will get very likely one more real quote-unquote fight.
So, yeah, a lot of people were calling for the Elder Flip. I didn't think it was possible. We would have to wait probably 10 more minutes in the game to get there. Like 9 to 10 minutes. 9 if they like get it on spawn. Could be a little bit longer, actually. But either way, I mean, we're going to be pretty long in the game if we actually do get there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen, guys. I don't know.
I'm thinking that the game will probably be decided on the Infernal Drake itself, and the timing of it is really nice for Brion, like in the fact that their inhibitors should be up by then, 20 seconds, minutes 15, unless Nongshim just deletes it on respawn with the push here and the 4-1. Right now 1-3-1ing, but Brion actually get to push these waves out, inhibitors respawn, and then if they can get their way over the Drake carefully, there is a real team fight to be had. This is a full build Lucian. We are nearly 40 minutes into this game. Gamin is 6-0-3. Has used the gold extremely well so far. And if he gets a good fight, if he gets a pick, if he Gale forces Kalix and puts him down to low health, forces him to Zhonya so they can set up for a big Gnar, Brion absolutely can win this game. Like, make no mistake, bro Leavers, like, there's still hope. Your faith has not been misplaced.
Very true. You just got to have faith until the very last moment, and you will be rewarded. As a great job by our observer, there is zero vision for Bro. But Raptor is insanely tanky at this point. He has not gone for a Warmogs, but he has 3 very tanky tank items. As the damage that they have on this objective, though, is really huge, and the lack of vision here for Bro means that they cannot actually get in there. So the Bro fight will be happening now, as the Cyclones are pretty huge, but Sounda takes a massive amount of damage. Gamin's position is just so huge, and Prim is in the back line, but he gets polymorphed at the exact wrong time for him. But take a look at Gamin. He's just doing way too much damage over the wall. It's going to be up to him to carry this, but unfortunately now a lot of his front line has gone down. It looks like Nongshim just barely are able to push forward on this one. That fight a lot closer even than it looks.
And I really didn't think the next fight was going to happen on Baron, because both these teams are so strong right now. I didn't think Nongshim would be able to come over there and just say, oh, this vision is ours, and start this one up without a huge fight. But Brion just not realizing quickly enough. The double TP is going to end the game, and we will have a 2-0 on our hands. But
it's all over my hands, Wolf.
Yep. It's all over the screen.
No matter how much soap I use, we just have a 2-0. It's all over my hands. Down goes the Nexus, and Nongshim will take it, as Kalix did do 8,000 damage in the last fight. But I'm still going to give it over to Ju.
I'm voting for Ju as well right now.
I think it's...
He's also got those fans in the audience,
Yeah,
I want them
the
to be
celebrity
rewarded.
buff.
Yeah, I want them to be rewarded for supporting this player who picked the Varus that we were actually pretty worried about in terms of what it was going to do in the lane, but they did wrestle back control. A lot of help from the jungler. And
my beliefs are being challenged right now. I'm having a moment of crisis. Don't you worry. They will come back.
And that is the sad reality of this one is, again, a realistic opponent they could have taken down. A close game to game number 1, they have a pretty sizable lead with the winning lanes they drafted, but this will put Brion on a -10 score here, 0-5. Still yet to take a win in Challengers.
And I thought Ivory was fine. I thought he played pretty well over the course of the 2 games, but man, Kalix kind of just outplayed him. Like, I don't even think it was because Ivory was not playing very well. Like, a lot of his scatters were great, but the Victor play and the Silas play was really insane. So I'm kind of hyped for this new very young 15-year-old player that has recently just joined the team can maybe push Nongshim even that little bit further.
Yeah. It's been a really interesting series to see. Like, I think both these teams mechanically know what they're trying to do in their lanes, and like what the draft plan is pretty solid. Again, the Varus Lulu, quite weird, but Lulu works extremely well with the Renekton, works extremely well with the Wukong that they picked up in this draft, and it wasn't really about the lane. At this level of play, I think that you're getting punished a little bit less. We did see control of the Lucian Nami eventually, but they survived the laning phase. There's no kills, no deaths. They scale up. The Lulu actually is valuable in other ways, but
yeah,
this series, I think, really showed some glaring weaknesses in how these teams play mid to late game. Like, Nongshim just not checking flanks. They were punished 2 times in a big way for that. Not having flank checks, not having ward checks. That's something that they could improve on. I think Breon not being decisive, especially in game 1 with their lead. In game 2 with the advantage they had in draft, not pushing those. When games are kind of won by one big mistake, is, gee, we'll pick it up this time around.
We got some friends from the other side to vote.
Look at his kill participation in a long game like this, 93%. To be fair, half of the game didn't have any kills, but anyway.
Still counts.
What I was going to say, and I'll close out here, is that like the way that both these teams could improve based on this series is quite simple. Because a lot of times you're like, oh man, there's issues in the early game, there's issues in the mid game, there's issues in the late game, there's issue with the draft. I think both these teams have some clear things they can work on and improve. They're trying to push themselves towards the west side of the standings. This win puts Nongshim at 3-2. So definitely a step in the right direction with a +2 score line.
Yeah, and you know, I know you guys will continue to be Bro-leavers, and that is really the win if you are a Bro fan, because regardless of results, they are still your favorite Giga Chads. But it does, you know, both in LCK and CL, as One Armed Gaming did say, I think he's kind of right. It's like both teams very passive. Sometimes they don't really know what to do when it's an even game, or even if they have a lead, and they're just kind of waiting around. I thought that their flanks from Frim were a really nice look. You don't even see that all the time from the LCK team. So I think if they can just kind of be a little bit more proactive and a bit more aggressive overall, like some of those fights could have been won by Bro when they were kind of just like being very cautious in the early to mid game, but instead they just kind of let Nongshim take the majority of the map, and that ended up being part of the reason why Nongshim were able to get the win.
Yeah. Someone's asked, are these games deciding of anything? What are the teams playing towards? It is the same format as the LCK, so it's a round robin regular season, and you're playing for points to try to compete in playoffs. That could then propel you potentially into the finals. There's no relegation or anything like that. It's just money and proving yourself so that you will be pushed up potentially into an LCK roster where the minimum salary is higher. And there's a lot of opportunities for growth there too.
I think the Challengers League it's a great way to show yourself off more than anything else. Like as an individual, like you'd love to get money, you'd love to like win championships because that helps your individual brand as well. Like either within your team, or you've got all these eyes, like all these scouts from even not just in Korea, but also around the world. Like we were making jokes before, like LJL, PCS, like LEC, LCS, like all of these leagues have players that have played in this exact tournament, the Challengers League. And some of them didn't even play in LCK at all, and they're having great careers in other regions. So look, that's like the biggest thing for me.
What Nongshim is doing right now is because they're a very new esports org. Remember, they acquired Dynamics. For those who don't know, Dynamics was acquired and rebranded by Nongshim. This is the team Rich was on a long, long time ago in the LCK, and they've sort of like are sowing the seeds and making this budding new league where it's Academy to Challengers to LCK. And what they're really doing is setting up stuff in Valorant's Challengers as well, and basically turning 30 cents into $30. It all goes back to what we talked about before.
It all goes back to the YouTube chat.
Plant those. In this case, they're turning 50 cents into $50. Yeah, you got 5 dimes, and you're trying to turn them into $50. And I really do believe that
I think you're right.
Nongshim will be one of the great feeding orgs into the LCK in the future eventually, similarly to how Gen.G is. If they start getting some wins in LCK as well in a few years, potentially with these players getting older and getting more experience, then people will want to join the team. People will be like, oh, I want to join that Challengers team. That's the team I want to be a part of. And it'll happen. I do think it's going to happen. Just, it will take time.
We have a question here from Emiko Zue. Did Zeus play in Challengers? I think he may have when he was 16, but he was a very quick entry into LCK. Like, if he did play, at first
I
my
don't think so.
initial
Yeah.
like what I thought immediately was no, because like I know he was just really hyped and he basically went directly into the LCK. May have played like a couple of games, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he did because when he came into the LCK, all of the narrative, all the discussion about him was like how hyped he is just based on scrims and like how good he was in solo queue and how popular he became very quickly through his solo queue play. And T1 picked him up early, kind of locked him in, trained him. He was playing and scrimming with them.
He was such a big talent that they were like, "You're not going anywhere."
Yeah, so
he will play for our team.
I don't think he did play in challengers, but I could be wrong about this because obviously I wasn't following very closely 2 years ago when that was the time period. But I don't.
He may
think
have been.
So.
He was probably playing with. Like, I know he was in the organization for a long time, so he's definitely playing with those players, regardless if he played on stage or not. By the way, he did call Nongshim a feeder org, which is kind of funny in the yeah, in relation to League of Legends terms. Berserker is one good example. There's a lot of them.
I just love how it's like the chat is always gonna find like the thing that I said that's funny, but like that I don't know that I said that's funny by just kind of random chance. And normally when this happens on a real broadcast, like one of you guys might tell me like, Wolf, you said this weird thing, or you like missed a word in that sentence that one time and you did say this. But this time I can actually just see it in real time. I'm like, oh yeah, I did say that. Oops.
That did happen. Geez, do they just cast every game? They must be so tired. Well, it wasn't us yesterday. Atlas and Chronicler did do the 9 out of 9 games for the 3 best of 3s. So Wolf and I are here. We do alternate days for casting in Challengers as well as in LCK itself. So even though we are there pretty much every day, for LCK at least, because we're doing desk as well, we're not casting every day.
No. I also, had a day off yesterday. We got to rest.
Same.
So
I slept a lot.
Almost every day. We cast 6 days a week. But that will change eventually as the season goes on. But at this moment in time, somebody's got to give you guys all of the Korean League of Legends. It's going to be us, and we're here for it. We love it. We love our jobs. And so thankfully, we have you guys here to talk to and chat with on this Challenger stream. So it's a very special vibe here with the Challengers chat. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, guys. That was a 2-0, so we might have a bit of a longer break, so you guys might be waiting for over 60 years. Sorry about that. But we are going to go to a break, and we'll be right back with the second series.
파랑팀의 포탑이 파괴되었습니다.